everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast number 57. I'm your host, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, and back here in our studio in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, joined by Johnny V.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's good to be back or not. It kind of is.
It's good to be, I'm sure it's good to be home. It's not, Wisconsin, weather, whatever.
October and stuff.
Well, you're a fan of October, though. You and I both love fall better than, the mid-heat of summer.
Yeah, so but then again, I guess I had no problem leaving the action that we saw on Saturday at the USDGC.
From what I heard, you had a lot of problems leaving the action. You had a couple flight issues. You ended up flying into Chicago instead of Milwaukee, having to have a friend drive the hour and a half to come pick you up. Yeah, lots of hassle.
Little less than awesome, but we made it back home safely from the United States Disc Golf Championships. Obviously, will be a hot topic here tonight that we'll be talking about. We'll have our featured guest in Paul McBeth. He'll be joining us, talking a little bit about it.
He's like our third host at this point. He's on so much. He wins so much that we might as well make him an honorary third host.
We do get accused occasionally of some favoritism or always talking about him, but if you keep winning and you're doing things like winning 5 majors in a year, and you're winning your 4th world title in a row, you're going to get talked about. So, and we've said it before, Paul has been very gracious and very genuine and very available for us to talk to him, and he's always willing to help out and join us on the show, whether it's late notice or not, and he makes himself very accessible, and that, to us, is really important. So we're glad to have him. And I told him today, I think it was yesterday, I messaged him and said, I hope I don't even have to ask. You're planning on being on the show, right? Because I said, I think we'd look like fools if we didn't have you.
Yeah, we probably would. And you know what? We should just put it out there for all the pros watching. If you win an NT or you win a major, just expect to be on the show on Tuesday.
Yeah. It's like Disneyland on Monday.
I'm going to Smashbox.
Yes, I'm stepping inside the Smashbox on Tuesday. That's just kind of what you're going to have to do. Unfortunately, you're going to have to beat Paul to do that. But, yes, we certainly welcome everyone.
At some point, we might annoy Paul enough where he just starts throwing tournaments so he doesn't have to show up.
I don't know about that.
Okay.
But we are moving into our off-season. Unplanned segue there. We are going to be moving into our off-season, and I think we're going to try and mix things up a little bit. Last year, we started in the off-season. We started in November, not really knowing where this podcast would go. And here we are 57 episodes into our 57th episode. And we've said it before that I didn't really plan on doing anything during the summer. We thought it might even die down or maybe go to once a month, something along those lines for the summer months. But they've been so busy, they've been so exciting that it just makes sense to be here. And we keep getting great feedback. So we're really glad that everybody is tuned in and is watching. Hopefully people go out and share the link and let everyone know that we're live right now.
Just about to go do that.
Yeah, see, that's what you got to do. I did that a little earlier. We've got some of our regulars on the board, and we're glad that you guys are here.
Hello, regulars.
Including none other than Swipe Right for DG Mike. I would like to say that October is DG Mike month, but I think that's every month. So, DG Mike, we wish you the best of luck. Let us know how that Tinder's working out for you. He said, are you announcing some kind of mandatory press conference post-NT? Well, maybe we should be doing something of that nature. Yeah. Anyway, so USDGC is huge point of conversation this week. We're going to have Paul on. We also did talk to Dana, and he was traveling. He just got back into Illinois earlier today. He's not going to be joining us on the show with some of his amazing insights and stats and numbers and whatnot. What we should do is we should just steal all of the awesome metrics from the guy, our pals over at Spin.
Just pull up the Insider Show and just play it over us.
Just play it.
Walk away.
Pretend like we did all the work for it.
Guys, look at this. Look at the great job we did.
For those that don't know, there was, of course, some metrics that Spin TV, Spin 18, and Spin TV have put together. You're going to see a lot more of those on the Disc Golf World Tour next year, and they're great. They're great to have. I think everybody, I can't think of a downside to having them. I think everybody, now whether you love them or you get into them or not, that's up to you, but I can't think of one downside to having them. Keeping track of things like, percentage of greens hit, how many putts inside the circle, the 10-meter circle that is, how many putts outside the circle that someone makes. I think all of those stats are awesome. I think we're going to see those continue to evolve and then go along with player profiles, and that's pretty exciting to see.
It is. Do you think? We'll ask Paul about it. Do you think Paul kind of cares about those stats? I know he doesn't care about them. Do you think he's interested in them, or to see that? I only hit 98% outside the circle and not push myself to 99.
I don't know if he cares. Simply because he knows what he feels like is his strong suit. Yeah. And I think a lot of our players, I don't know if any of our players are going to be like,
oh my gosh, winning.
Oh my gosh, my disc golf metrics tells me that I'm, at only 42% inside the circle. They're going to know already.
Yeah, they know whether they're putting well or not.
So the question will be, and we don't have them here and we don't know, but a continued thought or question along those lines is, will those be
available to
cumulative?
Everybody?
Well, will they be cumulative stats?
Like, are those going to be? And I don't know because we haven't asked, but are those going to be proprietary stats?
I would assume so.
So they won't,
because they're doing a bunch of work to make them happen.
Correct, but so they won't make them public for people, or
I bet you they'll be on their own pages. But I guess what I'm saying is, do you think they'll carry over from an event to event?
Yes.
They'll always.
That's the whole point. I think
it's a rolling statistic.
So you can always look back and say, "Oh, look, inside the circle, Ricky was 95%." And in the long run, it'll balance out due to weather and type of course. Greens hit is going to be, we'll just say, a lot easier at an open course versus a Charlotte course where you're shooting long, tight fairways. So I don't know.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see, but I know they take an incredible amount of work by a few dedicated individuals that I think have been, some kind of volunteers that have worked with spin, and I think they're going to, rotate and be different people each. I should finish my thought. They're going to be different people from event to event. One thing that I really do like about it, well, I like a bunch of stuff about it, but one thing in particular is, as an announcer, I'm now assuming we're going to see a marked 10-meter circle at every tournament.
Okay.
At a lot of these bigger tournaments, because Spin TV and whomever are going to want to know for sure if it's inside or outside of that circle.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to see a more diligent effort. And I run tournaments. It's not an easy effort, especially if it's wooded, to go out and put those circles down. I think we're going to see a more diligent effort of that happening, because USDGC for many years didn't have them.
Correct.
And that was always one thought or consideration is, why wouldn't this event? It's some effort and some manpower, and it's another $30 to $100 in paint. But
correct. But I think there should be a standard for anything NT and above for sure to have them. I'd love to see them at A tiers, but NTs, majors, and I'm sure you're going to see it on the World Tour. That should be a standard. I mean,
yeah, I just think as an announcer, it will also help me.
Yeah.
Anytime that I'm covering an event in recorded or live format.
Mark my words, every time we have them, you're going to see someone go out there and post, I think it's too close. Yeah, it's at 30 feet. It's not 33. It's at 30
There's no
feet.
way that's 30. Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah, I agree. That was said at one point at Worlds.
Yeah.
In fact,
I'm sure.
I think it was Rob Ryan who likes to
said
post.
It at USDGC as well. He said it was at 30 feet.
That's what he said.
And I wish nothing but the best for Rob Ryan. He did post that he may have some very serious health issues.
That's no good.
So hope nothing but the best for you there.
Yeah, I saw that post as well, and you're right. Every single tournament, and sometimes the tournament really does screw up, and sometimes people
of course.
Sometimes people are just off. But speaking of off, DG Mike has a live update right here on Smashbox. He is currently not available via Tinder. He is dating someone. So he apologizes. I think Tinderonies.
Well, now we know who our guest. Now we know who our guest is next week. Tinder, formerly known as Tinder Mike.
Yes, I believe they had met on Tinder. And again, we know you're a big fan of the show, so we appreciate it. She better be a big fan of the show. That's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah. Well, no, here's a question. Maybe Mike can answer for us in the after show or something. When you meet someone on Tinder and you finally be like official, like, hey, we're gonna be official. Do you go to each other's phones and delete Tinder?
Ooh.
Is that like a standard? Like, all right, you give me your phone, I'll give you my phone, we'll delete Tinder.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I don't know.
Anyway. Keep us updated. And we'll get it right out of the way. I'm a long time, and nobody can accuse me that knows me at all. Nobody can accuse me of being a bandwagon fan, because I don't know why you would be otherwise. I am a fan of the Cubs. I've watched them since being a kid. So congratulations, as the Cubs won tonight, beating the Cardinals. That's pretty exciting. There's not a lot to cheer about as a Cubs fan.
No, I think we were at not the last. Oh, it might have been the last Cubs postseason you and I were at.
Yes.
And we were sitting outside of Wrigley. We were not in Wrigley. We were kind of hanging out in the cold weather with a little portable TV. And as a Brewers fan, this particular series, there was no winner for me. But I was happy to see the Cubs win over the Cardinals. And now I'll be happy when the Cubs lose.
Okay.
Because there's a couple things. One, the Cubs are much better as the lovable losers. If they win, it kind of changes the whole, doesn't it though? It changes the whole mentality of your fan base. You've always, not particularly you, but you've always been losers for 100+ years. 107 years. Getting a World Series would kind of change that mentality.
Until you get 3 or 4.
No, I think even just one. Look at how it changed the Red Sox.
Okay.
And so there's that. And I'm always happy when the Cardinals lose. They're too smug. It goes back too far. Anyway, this isn't a baseball podcast.
Not yet, or believe it or not, a Tinder podcast. Even though I've got updates, but we'll fill you in on those later.
So
anyway, I don't know if there's any reason to postpone it. I guess we could probably reach right out to Paul. I think we'll have plenty of conversation and questions for him. We look forward to you guys chiming in. There's a few questions that I think we already know the answers to that we'll make sure to address and get out of the way right off the bat.
Sure.
And I say we can get to it.
Bust to it. Yeah, so we're going to give Paul a call. So as soon as he shows up.
Maybe he's already on the Disc Golf World Tour.
He could be. Maybe he's watching baseball. we know he's a big baseball fan.
All right, and welcoming to the show your 4-time world champion, your McBeastly Slammer, your Mick Destroyer, I think I call it. McStroyer. I don't know.
That's bad. It sounds really weird to say 1-time USDGC champion because you feel like there should be more. Like, to have Paul a 1-time anything is kind of strange. But here he is, your USDGC champion, Paul McBeth.
What's happening, guys?
Not too much. How you doing today, Paul?
Oh. Hold on. Is that working? Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Yeah, you're good.
You're all good.
I'm doing good. Haven't played golf since the USDGC, which is nice. Get to relax a little bit. I played the Spectator Day, but that's about it.
All right.
Did you have a tee time all scheduled with people in particular, or sponsors, or supporters? What were you out there doing on Sunday?
Some friends wanted to play the course, so we went out after all the tee times had gone off because we went and had breakfast, met with some people there, and yeah, it was a good day. It was relaxing.
Now, after you won Worlds, you went out to Slippery Rock, and you played a round of golf relatively early in the morning. You played a round of golf there. After USDGC, you're on that course again. How is there even though you won, how is there any desire to throw a disc again on the property? How does that even...
Especially after Saturday's weather.
Yeah.
Like that right there would probably drive me away for a while.
How is there any desire to step foot on that property to go out and throw? I mean, it doesn't mean anything at that point. You just won the biggest event of the year.
That's what we call a victory lap, Terry.
I guess. What are you thinking when you're out there? Do you care?
I mean, I still want to throw some good shots, but I was so sore and physically exhausted that it was tough to do. But I was really out there for my friends and just to go out there and enjoy around in some nice weather. It was actually really nice on Sunday. The sun was shining, not really any wind, but it was nice to be out there with no pressure on and to throw some shots and not really care where they went. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty much gorgeous Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, and just miserable during the final round of the tournament. I was out there on Sunday briefly. I think I was there before you. And it was everyone's just looking around saying, where was this yesterday? What'd you shoot?
We didn't finish because there were some backups on 888. We played up until hole 12, and then we decided to leave because we were getting slowed down, and the car that was slowing us down happened to be the media folks, Jamie
Ah,
Thomas and Joe and that crew.
go figure.
So,
Go
yes,
figure.
we went and made sure to go get some interviews on them mid round, and
It's a good
we got
idea.
some videos and pictures, and asked them how it felt to have these cameras in their face. So we got a good laugh.
Just follow them around. Wait for like a big 40-foot putt. See if they can hit it.
Yeah.
And speaking of big putts, obviously you hit that huge one on 16, but think back in the weekend, anytime throughout the week, where do you feel like some of your best shots were thrown? And they didn't have to be a putt. Maybe it could have been what you felt like was a great tee shot. Where do you feel like some of your best shots were thrown throughout the week?
The first 3 days, definitely hole one. That tee shot, I put my first three drives within like 15 feet, and that's always a great way to start the round.
Well, you had
Uh,
that hole dialed in. You aced it twice during the week before, didn't you?
Allegedly.
yeah, I aced it
Don't make
twice.
him
I didn't
mad.
go for it in the tournament. I was really just focused on birdieing and getting a good start. I missed it the last round, but I missed the first three as well for the final round. But that's the thing there is it's about how you finish on that course. It's that back nine, so that had to pick it up there. But definitely hole one, and then hole four. Hole four, I birdied it all 4 rounds. So that was probably the biggest momentum for me because I had not birdied that hole since 2011.
Wow.
And to get it, yeah, and I switched my shot up actually on 11 of the 18 holes this year off the tee, whether it was a disc or a different route. So that's something I did this year, and it definitely paid off.
What do you feel like in years past? Was it the tee that was hanging you up? I mean, is that what caused the 11 out of 18 different, we'll say, approaches?
Yeah, I think the tee shots got me into a lot of trouble previous years, but they also, I mean, they were the riskier routes. That's why I shot the 52 and 53, but that's also why I shot in the 70s and high 60s some rounds because they were a lot riskier shots. So this year, I kind of found the shots that fit me more and would give me a chance for birdie on nearly every hole. Um, but yeah, so all my mistakes were not they weren't off the tee; they were off the second shots on holes like 888. On 13. I was getting my tee shots in bounds. My approaches weren't hitting the island, and same with I don't remember the other big number I was taking, but
Sure.
yeah, definitely 888 was the biggest one.
Now, 888, every single year, there's a story or two, and I think back to, personally, I think back to a couple years ago when I was very intently covering the tournament, and Nate Doss was either right in the hunt. He may have been tied, I think. I think it was 2013, and he, gave it all away, so to speak, right on 888. I remember him talking to Val, that hole it's obviously a tournament changer and a round maker or breaker, just like 17 is, but it's a few holes earlier, of course. What's your feelings on that hole? How do you want to attack it? What do you feel like are good or bad scores? Because you really struggled with it out there.
Yeah, I throw the big hyzer off the tee shot. If I'm in a good position, I'll go for the eagle. So the first 3 rounds, I threw good drives. I got them all in bounds, but it was still a little bit sloppy, and I just wasn't landing in the greatest spots to go for the green. But me being me, I went for it anyways, and that's what was getting me into trouble because I would pick the wrong disc and I'd flip it over into the parking lot to where I should have just done a more overstable disc and just thrown it onto the island instead of going for the basket. So the first 3 days or the first 2 days that got me into trouble because I was going for the island on my second shot. And then I changed it up the third day. I decided for the short basket. The short basket's a lot harder than the long one for me personally. But the third day, I threw the same drive, decided to pitch it up with the Firebird short, and then try to throw it onto the island. And my third shot was way short of the island, and I was only about 180 feet from the basket. So I left that short, and then threw my fourth shot onto the green, missed my putt, and ended up taking 7. So 3 sevens on 888, and then the final day I missed my tee shot, and then got my second shot on and was able to take a 6, which was better, but
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so you could say that is definitely the hole you ultimately struggled with the most throughout the weekend.
and hole 7, I didn't make the Mando once.
Oh yeah, the triple Mando.
Now, did you miss it, or I mean, obviously during the last round you didn't get through there, but I mean, did you miss it at any point?
I missed it once, the third, either the second or third round, and the other ones I was all short of it. So I had 2 birdies on the hole, but I also had a bogey when I missed it.
What do you think? I mean, you're throwing a backhand, you're throwing a Rock 3, McPro Rock 3 through there, or trying to, yeah. I should say. What do you think about the backhand versus the forehand shot? Me not being a good forehander at all, it amazes me that hole sets up and people throw forehands through there.
I don't know. I don't get it either. I don't get how they do it or why they do it. I just feel like going straight at it is a lot bigger gap. But I mean, if that's how they feel comfortable, then that's what they feel comfortable with. So that's not a shot I would think of on that hole.
Yeah, it really surprises me to see so many people do
Mando. When you used to be able to go over the top, I understood quite a bit. But now that you have to actually hit the gap, I don't. I'm agreed. I'm with you. I don't understand.
What would you say? Well, you said hole 4. Would you say that is your most successful hole? I mean, you birdied it 4 times, and it's a very challenging hole. Would you say you feel like that was a real difference maker for the weekend?
Yeah, that definitely is. Because if you birdie that one, I think 15 people tops are probably birding that in the round. So that's definitely strokes you're gaining on most of the field.
Yeah, and for you to get it 4 times, I bet you, I mean, Rock Searle is the spotter out there that's always in charge of it, but I bet you if he looked back, there's very few, if anyone, has ever birdied that all 4 rounds of the tournament.
Yeah, I think he said I was either the first or second.
Okay.
To do that.
Yeah, that's very impressive. And then 5, Friday there wasn't a backup. Saturday there was. What are you thinking when you're walking up to hole 5? I mean, that's I know the water really shouldn't come into play, but what are you thinking about that hole in general?
Off the tee shot, it's really fairly easy drive. I just throw a slightly overstable destroyer out there at the trees on the right, and then just give it a decent amount of height, and it just hyzers right into the middle. Even if I hit those trees long, it's no big deal because it's just a layup on the second shot. It's not too intimidating, especially now with that Mando. I think it made it less intimidating for myself because I have to throw straight at it now, so I don't have to worry about going over the trees and being short. Now if I make a mistake, it's long, so I'm safe. So it kind of made that hole a little bit easier for me.
That's an interesting perspective because in talking to a lot of players, Schwebby being one of them, had said that he felt like it no longer was a risk and reward because there was nothing for you to risk. You have to throw over the water. And I was going to ask, does that hole impact you, or the mandatory? Does that impact you in any way?
It definitely changed my shot on that hole. I enjoyed throwing the hyzer, but I probably went in the water a lot more than I do go in the water a lot more throwing that hyzer than I do going straight.
Okay. What about any of the other holes out there in particular that stick out to you for any reason, good or bad, or ones that you're gonna have a different game plan on next year? Anything like that stick out at you?
Hole 8's a lot tougher this year, and that basket placement. I should say, the basket placement's a lot tougher. The tee shot's easier because they keep losing trees on that hole, but where the basket's located is a lot tougher to get to now.
And now I was going to say, let me clarify on that real quickly. I didn't realize I'd been around most of the course throughout the week, but it wasn't until we were live on Friday that I actually got up to 8's basket. And now, is that the new permanent position? There wasn't a shorter position? Because I know that used to have 2 positions, but is that 8's now a new permanent position? Meaning it was never shorter at all during the week.
They did have 2 up in practice, but I think they decided against it and just left the 1 up on the hill.
Huh, interesting. Okay. I mean, that I would agree. That definitely made that hole that much harder in terms of, getting your approach shot to where you need it to be. And then we saw so many different people, it's an uphill putt.
Hit, roll down.
Yeah, or an uphill putt. We saw a number of them hit the basket and then just roll back.
Yeah, I think what we saw more was people throwing their approaches, trying to chuck a forehand up there, catching that tree that's right in front, and then rolling down to the fence.
Yeah, I think there were 3 consecutive throws that did that, which was kind of odd to see from afar. Now,
I think the biggest change on that course was hole 16, though. I think that hole became the most challenging of all the changes for me personally, and I think a lot of other people.
Now, what were you thinking when they had moved the basket, but they moved it to the wrong position? Did you see that coming in, or did you see that when you were walking across the 7-8 interchange, or when you drove into the park? What were you thinking whenever it was? What were you thinking when you saw that basket basically in the wrong spot?
I was with Climo, so I definitely heard about it. But it did change the shot I was throwing, which I was going to throw a sidearm on the other position. But with it being that close to the rope, I didn't want to go OB right. So I decided to go with the backhand, and that just slipped out of my hand, went in the trees, ended up taking a 4, I believe. 4 or 5 or something like that.
Yeah, you had a 4 and a 5. I mean, you struggled on that hole.
Yeah, 4 and a 5, a 3, and I think maybe 1, 2. But yeah, that hole definitely gave me problems. And I mean, I just don't know how they made the mistake of. They're literally like 15 feet apart.
Yeah.
On the opposite side of a tree.
So
that was surprising to see.
Yeah, and so for everyone that doesn't know out there, I believe it was the second day when they had moved the basket. They have 2 positions on 16, which is something that's new this year, and they moved the basket from the new position and they put it in a different sleeve or collar that's out there, and it was, would you say 4, maybe 6 feet from the OB line on the left-hand side?
Yeah, if that. That's 6 feet probably tops.
Yeah, and so they had moved it there. Harold Duvall came onto social media later in the day or in the evening and say, it was a mistake on their crew's part, and he apologized for it and everything else. But it definitely, I remember seeing that and being like, that doesn't look right. And I didn't think anything of it because I wasn't, I hadn't done any practice rounds, but I was just looking at it. I'm like, that seems way close. I remember saying to my cameraman, that looks really dumb. Why is it so close? And then to find out later that it was, it was an actual mistake. So now I had a really great conversation with our good friend Steve Dodge, the guy that obviously hosts the Vibram or the Maple Hill Open, whatever he's calling it this year. And I give him all the credit in the world for this. He was wondering why in the world on hole 17 Ricky kept throwing. And obviously he knew he went out of bounds, but he was saying, why do the rules have you continue to throw instead of, cycling through? And I'm not going to say he's a genius, and I'm sure others have said this countless times, but think about how that changes this entire dynamic, because Ricky had thrown all these shots, just like last year with Johnny McRae and the year before with Will or whomever. He'd thrown all these shots OB. You just needed to put one on the green. What if you were throwing immediately after him and you guys were going in that order? Give me some insight on that.
I didn't hear the end of that.
I just said give me some insight as to how you feel about if the rule was different, because at the USDGC I think it's noted somewhere that when you go OB or you do whatever,
you just keep throwing.
You keep throwing, and I'm thinking of whether it's 888 or any hole out there, you keep throwing until your turn's done, so to speak. Whereas, what if you went right after Ricky, and you kind of went through all 4 people, and if anyone that was OB, you keep going through that rotation, that would drastically change the landscape of the entire teeing situation.
Yeah, I actually did that at the Ledgestone. Johnny McRae threw out of bounds, and I teed off right after him, just because I thought he would end up throwing last, and they weren't too happy about that. So I don't know why the rule is how it is.
Really?
But yeah, I mean, it wouldn't change my shot personally. I would throw the same shot. I threw it all 4 rounds. So I mean, it could change the dynamic for some people,
Yeah,
but for me, yeah, I don't base my shots off other people's, so it wouldn't affect me. But I'm sure it could affect a lot of other people in that situation.
yeah, and I certainly, I know you, for instance, you weren't laying up, or I know you were like set in your game plan, but your mindset. Ricky throws one OB, and you get up there and let's just, for the sake of argument, say you don't match it. You're OB as well. I mean, you guys are then at that point, still squared up, and then you're gonna ultimately have to throw again, and so on and so forth. But by the time Ricky had thrown, 2 or 3 shots OB, 2 shots, and then got on his third, I think.
Yep.
At that point, to you, the tournament is over. I mean, you just need to put one on. That's not nearly the pressure than if you were going immediately after him.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could look at it that way. It's a lot of what ifs and hypothetically speaking type questions. But I think just the fact that once you miss that hole once, it's kind of, you can still 3 it, or no, you not really. I mean, you're still going to 4 it. So
Sure.
if someone puts on the island close, there'll still be 2 strokes going into the last hole, which I mean, that's, you just have to par it, but still.
Yeah, all things being even or equal, which way would you prefer to play it? Would you prefer that the way you did it at Ledgestone, where you cycle through, if someone misses, then the next guy up? Or would you...
Well, I made that mistake of teeing right after Johnny instead of letting him tee over and over, and I kind of got yelled at for that. Not yelled at, but they said something about it, and I was like, well, I didn't know. I just figured it'd go that way. But
yeah, that's how I would think normally. I mean, because if you throw a B and choose to re-tee on any other hole, you don't do it immediately, do you? If you throw on any given hole, you always have the option to re-tee.
If you throw out of bounds?
You throw out of bounds. If I throw so far down a hill and I say, I'm just going to re-tee, do you do it immediately? Or do you wait? You wait for everyone to cycle through.
Yeah, usually you do, and that's why I think this is so critical here.
I don't know. That's kind of interesting, depending on how the rules are written. I wonder if that would be. Yeah, that's one more thing to USDGC can change next year.
I just think, and obviously, Paul, you're going to do what you're going to do, and I know that you're setting your plan, and I'm not.
You threw that Nova 4 times, and did you deuce it every? You deuced it every time?
Yeah, it was probably within a 10-foot circle every time on that hole.
Yep.
So we're back to that you getting lucky conversation. No, I'm just kidding.
No, don't make him leave. Don't make him leave. He'll come knocking at my door.
No, what I do want to talk about, though, is the pressure. You perform so well under pressure. There was pressure on Ricky. He was going first in that case. There was a little relief of pressure, I've got to assume. I know you're trying to put it on the green and you want to secure it, but there's a relief of pressure. How is it that you feel like you can handle the pressures? I mean, the pressure with Ricky at Worlds last year, all these different scenarios. How can you handle this pressure seemingly better than anyone else on the course?
Good.
Oh, sorry. Did I cut out on you?
Yeah, just cut out a little bit. How do you handle the
pressure? Basically the question was, how is it that you can handle pressure better than just about any other person in disc golf right now?
I enjoy it. I play and train for those moments. That's fun to me, is having that pressure put on my shoulders, and you have to throw a good shot here or else you're going to lose, because losing's not fun. Nobody likes losing. But I think I don't know. I honestly just live for those moments, and I encourage them. That whole final round, I kept talking to UC and bringing it up, like, this is what you like, right, UC? This is for your channel, because it is win or lose. You want to put on a show and go out, fighting. So I don't know. I think they're fun. Honestly, that's the only way I could really put it.
Have you always been that way? I mean, since you were an amateur, or is it something you've grown into now that you've got a couple championships, a couple wins under your belt? Now you can kind of be like, now this is what I like, or has it always been that way?
It's always been that way with sports. Like for baseball, growing up, you always want to have that diving play or that big play or something. You want to be bottom of the ninth, bases loaded, full count. You want that moment, and that's just something I've always looked forward to in all sports. You have the game-winning shot in basketball, It's just like it's the same with disc golf. You can have that huge putt in the final round that switches the momentum with 2 holes to play, or that putt for the final hole. All those moments are just they're fun.
All right, so make a few enemies here. Who are you rooting for in the playoffs, baseball playoffs?
Oh man, I'm not even watching them, honestly.
Oh no? Okay.
No, I don't have any time to watch them.
I didn't know if you had a rooting interest, being like a Dodger fan or anything like that, but.
What was that?
I said I didn't know if you were gonna had a rooting interest in the Dodgers or the Cubs or whomever.
Well, I honestly don't know who's in the playoffs. Last I saw was like the Astros and Dodgers and Cubs. I don't know who the other one is, if the Astros are still in it or not. But it'd be cool to see the Astros do well because one of my friend's brothers is their catcher, Conger. So it's pretty cool to see them do well. And then the Dodgers, of course, being in LA.
Sure.
So.
Well, speaking of locations and rooting for people, you were in Virginia right now. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, and you're near, I was gonna say you're not attending. You're at Liberty University.
Yes. Correct.
All right, and you're in the sorority house, the Liberty? No, I'm just kidding. But you're hanging out. You're in Liberty University. You announced, and it's public knowledge. You mentioned that you had asked a female to be your girlfriend just before USDGC.
It's a nice way to put it,
isn't it? I was trying to think of the most eloquent way to put that.
They made it Facebook official.
They made it Facebook official. Yeah. You're hanging out in Virginia. What's your off season gonna look like?
It'll probably be a lot of going back and forth from California to here. You make it sound so bad.
No. I'm just trying to set it up as politely as possible without saying anything that sounds like being a jerk.
Yeah. She's actually a exercise science major.
Exercise science. Okay.
How does that differ from kinesiology?
Kinesiology is teaching. Exercise science is the application.
Okay.
Okay.
Kind of heard it, yeah. All right, that's good to know. I know a little bit about kinesiology. I took one a class or so, and I was just curious.
So yeah, basically, she's in her senior year of school right now. So she's got the facility, and she needs students basically or
subjects.
Clients.
Clients. Okay.
Subjects.
You're gonna be called all sorts of things.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it helps. So yeah, I'll be going through a lot of tests and a lot of physical training, nutritional things like that. So it'll be a whole, I guess, array of studies basically, and that'll be just seeing what my body's capable, and then healing process too as well. A lot of stuff.
Well, I know I'm thinking back to a few years ago. Avery Jenkins and Dave Felberg, when they were out in Oregon and going to school, I believe Jenkins has a sports medicine type degree, something along those lines, or sports science degree. Yeah, I know he dealt with that. I know at one point Dave Felberg was dealing with some biomechanics, and he's been rigged up and tested and all these other things. Is that anywhere near the direction in which you're going to be doing things? Do those relate in any way?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Get the little sensors all over the body and
Okay.
get the motion of throwing and putting and seeing how to maximize the performance and all that good stuff. So I'm really excited to see how it goes, and I'm really excited to get the nutritional side and all that good stuff, because that's something I've lacked through the years. Really worked on it this year though, and I felt really good physically, and my body felt alive more than it ever has.
And now, obviously, you're putting your body through a ton of strain and pressures and just rigorous activity day in and day out. You have your trailer that you travel around in primarily, but what's that like, just trying to maintain a healthy lifestyle while out on the road?
It's definitely hard, whether it's like that. Luckily with the rig that I got, I have enough room up in the bedroom sometimes to just do body weight exercises and things like that. And Nate always complains because I shake the trailer a lot.
Tell me you drove the trailer to the university. Like, you pulled up in front of her dorms in the trailer with your face on it.
Like, honey, I'm here.
Hey, oh, that's just my boyfriend. That's his trailer.
It's his trailer with his face on it. No.
I left that down in Innova for a few days. I don't need it. So.
Okay.
I'm staying with the disc golf coach actually while I'm here, and I'm doing more than just working in the labs and the gym and things like that. I'm also helping out the team when I can, and trying to improve, whether it's Coach Steve's practices or things like that, and as well as the players, and do it as Paul and not Carl. So.
There you go.
Sure.
Now I was going to ask, do some of these players maybe feel do they feel privileged and honored that you're there? Or do you feel like some of them are a little bit intimidated, like, oh yeah, I've got this guy looking over my shoulder?
I think they really like it, because I try to help as much as possible. Some of them have been playing a few months, and some of them have been playing years. Actually, one was at the USDGC, competing. So I think it's all positive, because I like to work with the newer players a lot more because they're so fresh. They don't have too many bad habits to kick, because once you get up to more advanced, they're bad habits because they've been doing it for so long. So I enjoy like the new players and working with them more.
What would you say is the number one either bad habit or thing that people do that when you walk out onto the course or you're at the university, you walk out and you're just like, oh, there's that again? What would you say is the number one fixable tip out there that people are bad at, or what they do?
It's probably two. The X step, like they like to hop. They like to do the hop where they click their heels. And never turn their hips. And then, so that's the first one. Next one would probably it's probably all one. When they don't turn their hips, they just throw it with their arm. It kind of just doesn't really go anywhere. It's got a lot of spin, but it just spins with no momentum behind it. So those are probably the two biggest things: the X step and using their legs, and then getting those hips turned to actually throw the disc, and they just throw it with all arm, and it really doesn't go anywhere.
Now, has it been weird for you not having your trusty teaching sidekick, Nate, with you? Because I know he's generally done a lot of the talking or carried the load in that sense when you guys have been out doing the McBeth tours and such, the challenges. Is it weird not having him? Did you learn everything off of him?
Yeah, I learned it pretty soon. Like I could go through the 5 steps. I can't, verbally say it the way that he does. He's got some big words that he likes to use every time. So I'd feel like I'm stealing them. But I learned it pretty early on, how to do the clinic, and he just likes talking. I'm just talking, like, just stop me and take over. I'm like, Nate, just do your thing. Like, I'll step in when I need to, and if people have questions, like, it's easier for me to answer questions than to go over this list because Nate's already got it. So. No, it's not too big of a deal when he's not here. It just might not come out as clean as it does with me speaking instead of Nate.
Now, do you ever speak with like inspirational quotes like "Work hard, dream big," like I see on the pillow behind you? No.
Do I ever like use them?
Yeah.
Jaskin? Well, sometimes. Like one I heard right before USDGC, before the final round, was actually from a song. And if you look at the video on hole 16 before that putt, I kind of laugh because this line from the song is pressure makes diamonds and fire refines gold. So it kind of was one of those diamond moments in my head. Like, if I make this is going to be huge. Like, this putt will be remembered. I'll like let him slip out at clinics and helping others out, and it's just those little things that stick. So it's something to always reference to.
I thought for sure you were going to trip on the yellow rope. If you watch the replay, when you
Yeah.
after you hit the putt, you kind of give a nice little fist bump. The way you hop over that rope, every time I see it, I'm like, oh, he's gonna catch his feet on it this time. So,
What kind of momentum changer would that have been? You nail this huge putt,
but then trip over
and
the
then
oak.
you trip and fall. No, what do you think how do you think people would have reacted?
I probably would have taken the rope with me in that moment. I
Yeah.
don't think that rope would have stopped me.
And they were the last card, so they didn't need it anymore.
Yeah, nobody needs that.
Yeah.
So I was going. Oh, so speaking of questions and your off season and everything else, I'm sure one of the questions you get more than any, even though you've told everybody on Facebook in a number of different ways, your
No more
season.
tournaments.
Yeah, your season is done. You can declare it here yet again. There are no more tournaments for Paul McBeth this year. None. Period.
No.
But what about my local league, Paul? Are you going to show up to my local league and play?
Yeah. The only league I might play is in Huntington Beach.
Okay.
Sure.
Is that
and
PDGA sanctioned?
They do. Oh man, like 4 or 5 years or something like that. It's been a long time since I've actually had the opportunity to be there more than 2 weeks.
Okay. So no more tournaments. We've said it before that you're not concerned about, a sanctioned or an unsanctioned tournament and it's got X amount of payout. You're concerned about the quality of the course. You're also concerned about the level of play that's going to be there, the location, all of those things. But to go out and necessarily find like some big paycheck, that doesn't concern you whatsoever.
No, usually when people say like, oh, 5,000 added, 10,000 added, like I don't go to tournaments for the money. That's something I don't do. I usually go to ones that I've been like referred to, or people like, you need to go play this event. The course is sick, or things like that, and then just usually from other players, from their experiences, and mostly tournaments like that. But now it's just there's so many national tours and quality A tiers and then European tournaments that it has to almost be at that level now. Because I only played one B tier this year, and that was my first tournament of the year, and that was because it was in California, right by my grandpa's house. So that's really why I go to that one every year.
I was say, so speaking of quality events and events that you're going to be playing, talk to us a little bit about your involvement with the World Tour, with UC's new World Tour. They made a big announcement that you signed on as some sort of partner, that you're going to be attending all 6 of the events.
Athlete ambassador.
Athlete ambassador is the term that was used. So can you explain exactly what that means? What is an athlete ambassador to you?
I can explain what I know.
Okay.
And what I can say.
Sure.
Or you can make up stuff.
Yeah.
It's all good here.
I'll leave it all. Basically, yeah, I'll be at those 6 events. I know the 30 minutes, and Jeff Spohr will most likely be the TD, good friend. So that'll be an exciting one. Another big tournament back in Southern California, which we've been lacking for years, since the Golden State Classic. So definitely be there. And then the Europe ones are, the biggest thing is the promotional side and media side will be the biggest difference in these events. I don't know if I'll get in trouble for saying some of this, but yeah, just basically I'll be doing a lot of promotional stuff leading up to the events, kind of just blowing up the event, getting the information out there that there will be an event here. You guys should come check it out or watch it online, and just meeting a lot of fans and introducing the sport basically to new disc golf meccas, I guess you can say, in these European countries. And just being able to be in that position to make it happen is something I'm really excited about, and UC is, as well as all the others working with Disc Golf World Tour. I don't know what the other 2 events in the U.S. are, USDGC, and I'm guessing that
there's La Mirada, and there's an unnamed one.
Yeah, that's it. There isn't the other one hasn't been determined yet, is what UC was telling us last week Tuesday.
I keep pushing for Terry to run one, so.
Yeah, no, not going to happen. Do you feel like, obviously you're going to be this ambassador and you're going to be helping push it all forward, and there's going to be plenty of people that are going to want to see what you're doing. Will that have a reverse effect? Will other people be like, Paul's going to be busy doing that, I'm going to go find somewhere else to play?
Well, I don't know. That's not up to me. If they want to go play other tournaments, and that's what they want to do. Um, I'm, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I really have an effect on where they go and play or not. But I mean, I would want to go play against the best players. So
I
yeah.
think that's going to be one of the challenges, and UC pretty much addressed it head on. But I think that's going to be one of the challenges is getting some of even our best players or just below our best players, getting them to say, yeah, I'd like to go to Estonia. I'd like to go to the Czech Republic. I'm going to get there somehow financially. And I'm probably going to be, I'm going to be fighting up against Paul and the other good players. And UC more or less said, these tournaments aren't going to be about payout. I mean, there's going to be a payout, of course, but his focus is on growing the game, growing the media, growing everything else. I think that's going to be a tough challenge for some of our pros that are like, yeah, sure, I might be part of growing the game, but I could win. I could win $1,500 if I, stay home and go to an A tier versus Estonia or the Czech Republic.
Yeah, and I could see it that way. Just similar to the Australian Open.
Exactly.
That was this year. Nobody had really played there. Nobody knew what it was about. But the few that went, had, disc golf travel. So just hearing that, I'm sure when we came back and started telling people about it and how beautiful it is and, how challenging the course really is, I'm sure that'll draw more people in 2 years when they have it again to that event. So I think the numbers will at least double. And I think if people don't show up next year, then I think it'll be the same way. The following year or 2 years, however many it is, they'll hear about how great these disc golf destinations are and whether they go for the money or go for the experience. I think there'll be, double whatever shows up, if not more. And I don't see them having European players there as an issue. It'll just be the Americans who necessarily can't afford the travel or don't necessarily want to go over there for multiple trips and events. So,
well, I think, yeah, like you're saying, I think it goes along with a lot of our events that take a little bit of longevity and word of mouth. You hear so many years about like the Japan Open, for instance, and then I know, for instance, I go and I can't think of not being there. It's just so amazing, and there's so many good things, and I think that just continues to snowball, and it may take a few years for some of that to get there and to catch up with everyone. Now, after the Ledgestone event, I was talking to you that Sunday night, and you said you were planning on being over in Europe quite a bit more during this next season. Now I know exactly what you were referring to. Are you thinking 4, 6, 8 weeks at a time? How much time do you see yourself? Will you fill yourself in other spots when you're not playing in some of those tournaments?
I think there's 3 separate trips I'll be making up there for disc golf. I might make a trip to Europe just to go to Europe at some point next year as well. So definitely 3 separate trips. I think one ranges from 5 to 6 days. That's the shortest one, and I think the longest one might be about 12 days or something like that. So it'll probably add up to about 6 to 8 weeks overseas next year.
Wow.
Yeah, so it'll be good though. And as far as I know, it only aligns wide open.
I'm sorry, you cut out for a second. It only conflicts with what?
One event so far, and that's the Kansas City Wide Open, the national tour, which I talked to. What's his name? Dick. I forget his
Dick Parker.
last name.
Parker.
Yeah. So you cut off, but yeah, Dick Parker. I talked to him, and he's not running it this year, but he said PDJ wouldn't allow him to have the dates that he wanted, so they had to put it in May, and that happens to be the same weekend as a Disc Golf World Tour event, and it happens. So
yeah,
I'll be in Europe for that one.
Yeah, I think that's going to be part of it too, is finding out what conflicts, overseas versus what's going on back here.
Sure.
And then our players are going to have to take the extra day or two to fully acclimate themselves, to get back in the swing of things, the travel, the jet lag, all of that stuff. Now, does this already kind of set up the next question, which is, do you see yourself with Nate touring? You know, will it be in the bus, or do you feel like he's going to be overseas as much or somewhat, or how are things going to shake out for the? Is there going to be a Sexy Beast tour part 2? I feel weird. I think I feel weird asking that. Maybe not.
Yeah, I was actually talking to him today about that and asking him what the plans were, and he said, "Yes, sir. We're going to be traveling next year as well. So we're definitely going to be getting our schedule together sooner this year. Last year we kind of just winged it, and we're like, hey, where should we go? Where should we do this? So now we'll have a little bit more set schedule as the year approaches to get these McBeth challenges going, as well as the clinics and college stops. So we'll definitely be doing the same thing next year, and probably playing similar events, 20 to 25, somewhere in that range. And we'll see how that goes and how he recovers, and get it all settled and getting ready to go for 2016.
So now that we're here at the end of your season, and a lot of people will still continue to play in a lot of different events, but you're done, reflect back on the touring that you did and the time with Nate and the clinics. I mean, I don't need you to reflect on every single tournament. We've probably talked about most of them with you at one point, but reflect back just on the touring experience and what that all meant to you, and maybe most importantly, the things you learned.
Yeah. Like I said, I was talking to Nate earlier. I was just telling him it was an honor to travel with them, and I learned so much. The things that he would say, I took in as well to, try to strengthen my game, and he did the same with things that I was saying. He tried to use it for his backhand game because he just lacks confidence, and he's got a great backhand, just lacks confidence in it. But yeah, our majority of our touring was at the beginning of the year up until Worlds. We were trying to do McBeth challenges every week. Some weeks we did like 2 or 3. There were other times when we only had 1 and 2 weeks or something like that, because we were just winging it. We're like, hey, where will we be? But it all worked out. It was a hectic schedule, but we made it work, and it was a blast. We didn't get to explore as much as we'd like, but now that we're more comfortable with each other and kind of know what we like and what we dislike in our travels and in our experiences, we'll probably have more, I guess, free time, make a stop or two at some nice places and enjoy it, and then continue on with our adventures and running these events. And hopefully we have more people with us next year, as in following around and getting more coverage of what we do. So the media aspect.
Are you offering me a job right now? Is that what you're doing?
You can't have my boy.
I've already asked Terry. He's got a family.
Yeah. No, you're right, and I know we did talk about this last year, right around the USDGC. And I know that you had your brother doing some stuff, with you traveling around, and when you had said something about more media and exposure and getting things out there. Yeah, had we had this conversation 10 years ago when I was in a different spot in my life, you were, let's just say you were a much younger, obviously, then, but yeah, this conversation 10 years ago would have been a different story. I would love to be around helping be tour manager.
He's at a college. There's got to be a dorm or a building with a videographer in there.
Yeah.
Find the department that does all that type of stuff, mass comm, and go offer some kid an internship.
Yeah. Hey, do you want to join the Sexy Beast tour? Bring your camera. I don't know how that would. That might not go over so hot.
So is there some place in the United States that you haven't been that you just really want to see? like a monument or a city or something like that in the U.S. that you guys haven't been able to make?
Oh, is there something I'd like to see?
Yeah.
I'd really like to see like something like Yosemite or something, just breathtaking like that. But as well, I'd also like to see the Northeast more, just the history side of it. And then I guess the closest one to me now is what I heard is like the Smithsonian up in D.C. I've never been to D.C.
Wow.
But I'd love to explore the Capitol and check that out.
You think you might get over there during this winter?
I don't know what the winters are like here.
No,
I don't know how hard that
I
would
don't
be.
think good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, Virginia, you're Virginia, right?
Yeah.
You're kind of right in there, like right in the middle. You're gonna get, yeah.
I'm not sure you're gonna love that. Not being a Huntington Beach boy.
Get a parka.
We know that there's some big things going on. We've seen the Disc Golf World Tour. We're also seeing Disc Golf Park, another UC related project. One of the questions that came in on the board, which I think is a great one, is have you ever designed a course or had any input on course design, or is that not something that you're going to worry about for another 20 years?
I have not designed a course, and I have not ever. I mean, I've never like redesigned a course. I've helped out like, hey, this should go here. It'd probably make a better hole. Like I've made suggestions before, but I've never been approached to design a course or, um, things like that. I've had people say, hey, I might get a course here. Like, would you like to design it or co-design it? But they never seem to happen. So I've never designed one, but it'd be cool to. I'd love to redesign a course before I designed one.
See, and I think that's tougher.
Redesigning a course?
Yeah, because of obviously what's there and just there's stuff there. I don't know. My mind wouldn't work well
Trying
that
to
way.
erase what you've already seen and lay it
Yeah.
out fresh is always, I think, probably tougher than a blank sheet of paper.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of design, there was a huge debate last year. There were articles even written about it. Hole number 17, back to the USDGC. Hole number 17 is such a heartbreaker every year. It seems like, at least
Not
for
for
the
everybody.
for the last 4 or 5 years, it's been heartbreaking for someone. What are your thoughts about that hole? And I know you were successful this year, but what are your thoughts about that hole?
I think it's a great hole. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. They have so much bailout to the right that you should not miss it. Usually when people miss that hole, they're within the circle that they're going. And that from the water to the hay bales is less than 30 feet wide. So if they're really that nervous about it, they just need to pitch it out to the right. It shouldn't be too hard to hit. Yeah, I don't think it's truly a difficult hole. I think people just go over it, in their mind too much, or just overthink it, and that's why I put that post up on Instagram not too long ago of the walk from 16 to 17, because that's all it gives you is time to think about it, time, overthink about it, and I made up my mind on that hole what I was going to do back when I took that picture like 3 or 4 weeks ago. So I've known what I was going to do on that hole for a month now, and no matter the situation, I was going to go with the same shot. So,
were you surprised to see Ricky miss it once or twice?
I was surprised to see him miss it the second time. First time was kind of the pressure on sidearm. It's throwing a driver. It's really not by much. I mean, he hit inbounds, but it bounced out. So to see him miss the first one, it's not too surprising going with the driver off that hole, and going like he would have landed in the circle if it was safe. So it wasn't too surprising. But if he was playing it wider, I don't think he would have had a problem putting it in bounds. But the situation we were in being tied. He I guess felt the need to put it in the circle and try to put the pressure on me.
Do you think that hole is to put it close? Is it tougher to do it with a sidearm? Because is it harder to control the speed and I don't want to say the angle, but the landing zone of a sidearm as opposed to your backhand or anybody's backhand? We'll say
it's definitely harder to put it close to the basket with a sidearm. There's no doubt about that. Backhand, you can have that disc coming in so slow because you're probably throwing it with a putter or a mid. Unless it's a germ, but I don't think he's doing that either. So definitely harder to land a driver on that green close to the basket than a mid-range or a putter. And same with even if you're going to bail out, I think it's easier to throw a mid-range or a putter to the bailout zone than it would be a sidearm. The only way I can see a driver sidearm being more, I guess, better odds would be if it was really windy and you're throwing a Firebird or something really overstable.
Okay.
That'd be the only time I see a driver being the better shot.
There was I was standing directly behind you on the tee of 18. I wish I had my camera at the time, but I was doing the commentary, of course. And I saw you crouch down, and you were just holding the disc in front of you. And Chad Corduroy took a great photo, which was out on the Facebooks and other places in the last day or so. And I knew that it was going to be a great-looking photo. What were you thinking when you were crouched down and you were about to throw that last tee shot?
It was just emotional, because I had the opportunity to complete a Grand Slam in 2013, and I didn't come close. And it was just so many things that I've had to overcome, to get in that opportunity again. And so, so much hard work and just everything just came at me at that moment. And it was honestly hard to stand up, just thinking about it all, because it was such a big moment for myself and the sport as a whole. To have something like that accomplished, it was basically me trying to wrap my mind around what was going on in that moment, because once I had the 5 strokes, I knew it was over, and no matter what I did on that hole, it didn't matter. So it was just a bunch of emotion coming out, and I was surprised I didn't cry on that tee pad, honestly. 'Cause, yeah.
You can cry for Smashbox. We would have that would have made some news. Let's move over.
That week.
What's that?
I cried enough that week.
All right, so we're gonna move 600 feet down that fairway roughly. You're tapping in your final putt. It was a 2-footer. I was already announcing on air, that you're the champ. There's a conversation, just as there was about Paige a few months ago when she won Worlds, and the motion that was there. But the conversation that keeps coming up is, when and how do you feel like is the best time for an interview? And I'll say with myself or any other I guess mainly live media entity. How do you feel about interviews? And don't feel like you're going to hurt our feelings, but how do you feel about interviews after that putt drops in?
It would be nicer if it was daytime.
Okay.
That would have been nicer. No, I don't care, honestly. I think the toughest thing is still having to, or something like that. Like that, it'd be hard for it to interfere. You don't want to interfere with the scoring and all that stuff. So I think there needs to be someone there, whether it's either the interview waits or PDJ has someone there to take the card on that final hole, knowing the situation. It's not that hard. It's right there in front of the tent for them to have a marshal there to take the score.
Yeah, I think that's
official.
That's probably a good solution, is to have a marshal there at the final hole of most NTs to be able to officially get the scores and scorecard immediately, and then go to the interview.
Yeah, it's only a few hundred feet away.
Yeah.
I don't see why that would be an issue. So I don't think that's a media standpoint, because of course, you want the emotion for your interviews. That's what makes for good interviews, whether it's good or bad. You need both sides, which I wouldn't be against it if I just lost, a Smashbot, or if Spin 18 came up to me and wanted to do an interview. Like, that's what people want to see. How they handle it and how they're going to come back from that. Some people are devastated from a loss and can't come back, to disc golf or competing for months. Some will be back the next day. And I think you learn a lot about people in those moments. So I think they're fine.
Okay.
I would never complain about it.
Well, someone had commented out there, and they obviously were referring to me, saying, I wish he would step off and let them do what they want to do. He even said, celebrate with their friends or family or whatever. And I said exactly as you said. One, we want that emotion, and two, if I gave you the time to celebrate with your friends and family, it could be 2 hours before we, during the live broadcast. It could be 2 hours later before we finally get to talk to you. But I don't disagree, because in some regards, because I look at, obviously the Will Schusterick situation at the Memorial a few years ago, and there hasn't been really an official precedent set, and maybe we'll work with the PDGA, or as you said, the marshals, or an official scorekeeper. I think we're going to have to come to some official protocol Because it does lose a little bit if you walk away on 18, you walk up to the scoring trailer. In this case, it was 150 feet away. What happens when it's a quarter mile away? You walk back, you do your scoring. It's 6, 8, 10 minutes before you come back, and the people at home may or may not stick around for that. We already have a short attention span, we've learned. So I was just looking for your input because I know there's not a perfect solution just yet, but we're certainly striving to find one. And Crazy, for instance, a few years ago when he talked to both you and Ricky at the World Championships and this year's Worlds, it just seems like every situation is a little bit different, and we need to come up with a solution.
And I think the Worlds last year, we shouldn't do an interview together like that. It should be separate. Whether it's they do me first and then let Rick cool down or whatever, and then do his, or vice versa. But I think I think it should be winner and then second place or third place, whatever it is, and let them cool down however intense the moment is. And it's just like for us as players, if we were uncomfortable with it, we could simply ask you, hey, I want to go celebrate real quick, let me come back to this. You're going to say, hey, we're live. All right?
Yeah.
You're not going to argue with it. So.
Well, and along those lines, I mean, it brings up another detail here in what I was just saying. In that case, you were 5 holes in. You guys were literally a half mile. You were nowhere near the start of the tournament, at that point when you won in sudden death. So it's not like you were going to go back, and it was a playoff, I understand. But, all of those different situations, I think, are a little bit odd. So we'll just have to see what works best. But when you're up by 5, it even crossed my mind, even if he didn't turn his scorecard in or he added up wrong and got a 2-stroke penalty, he still had buffer strokes. So that's what I was thinking when I went up and was ready to talk to you. So do you ever think, and maybe this is really trivial, but do you ever think about what you're going to say ahead of time? You had 5 strokes. You knew on that tee it was done. Do you ever think about what you're going to be saying, whether it's at an awards or saying in an interview? Have you thought about any of that at that point?
Not for the camera, no. Like after you win, you want to get your speech ready. But this year was kind of, so no. For the interview that we did, there was no thought really. It was just like, all right, how am I going to put this in? How am I going to play this final hole? What's going to make it easiest? What's going to make it less awkward? Because I don't want to have to putt.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the speech at the end, I wanted to have something because it was such a big one. But then because it was dark, they just called us up randomly, and I was still at the scoring tent. And I had to run across, and I was like, oh no, I don't know what to say.
He pulls out like a 6-year-old sheet of paper. I've had this one for a while.
That would have been good. But no, that was just off, the top of my head and what, the emotions going through me. But I would have liked to have a little cleaner speech, but, I didn't have time because I was still over at the scoring tent. And
it seemed like you were a little scattered on that one.
Yeah, it definitely was. Still trying to come down from that.
One other quick question, since we just talked about Ricky, you guys seem to be battling it back and forth. He's obviously, one of those guys that's charging at you all the time. What's the relationship, for you guys? There's a lot of questions where people ask that out, in the disc golf world. What's the relationship like between you two as competitors or friends or enemies or whatever? What's that relationship like?
When we first started, same with like Will. When we first started, and he's got family that lives right down the street from me, so we were friends. But then we became competitors more often and kind of grew apart. And the fact that we lived so far apart, just the distance thing, and then playing against each other week after week, you can get tired of someone having to compete with them all the time, and then just feeling like you have to be friends because you're always playing against each other. But I think it's more fun, being a competitor, and he has his group of friends, I have my group of friends. Like, it's cool if we don't necessarily hang out. We have respect for each other's game, but whether it's off the course or on the course, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing for Rick. Like, Rick used to be the same way. We used to hang out often in the winter and things like that. Like, I saw an old picture not too long ago of Rick, and we were hanging out in Vegas, and he was like 16 years old, it seemed like. But yeah, it's the same thing. When we're on the course, we're competing. So when you're competing against the same person 20 plus weeks, you know, you can get tired of it because you're always just angry at each other on the course. But you respect each other's game and, you know, respect each other as a person, but you don't need to hang out or be friends. And that's I think the point that it's at now, with, you know, the top players, for like Rick and I, Will and I, and a few others. But then it's like different, you know, for Nate and I. Like Nate and I are close and we're cool, but we're on the opposite sides of the country, so we don't really hang out besides when we're on tour with each other. And yeah, Nate's. So yeah, it's difficult to be friends with the people you're playing against.
Yeah,
but
well, and it's, as you're saying, it's business on the course, and you know, you got, everybody seems to kind of develop your own, you know, crew and people that you hang out with, and sometimes it's the ones you travel with, or sometimes it's not, and I can see how that can unfold. Let's go ahead and give you just a wide open mic here on anyone you want to address or thank or mention, you know, talk about any sponsors or supporters that you have. I heard you had a new model, possibly for one of the companies you're involved with, maybe or maybe not, but talk about anyone that's out there supporting you.
I don't get what the end of that meant. Yeah, I mean, first off, I just got to thank my family. You know, they were watching, and I'm excited to get back to them and see them. It's been so long, and to finally be moving back there, I can't wait to see them, and I miss them and love them, and they're my biggest supporters, by far. So, you know, can't wait to see them, and then, you know, all my friends and fans and just anyone associated with disc golf. You know, you guys make it possible for myself and a lot of other players out there. So thank you guys for all the support and, you know, the love that we feel on the road, and just everyone that's, you know, here with open arms for us to come through their area and welcome us. So all the friends and family and fans out there, and then of course, you know, my close friends, you know, they get personal shout outs like Tommy Ekman, John Tompkins, Noah Rodriguez. Hannah will be helping me out a lot this winter, so I'm excited about that. And just yeah. And then all my sponsors, like my main sponsor, Innova Champion Disc. I mean, they've been there since I first started, so they've been the discs I've gone to since I was an amateur, since I first started. My first disc for Innova Champion Disc. So yeah, they're just huge supporters. I mean, I wouldn't be where I am today without them. Grip bags definitely make it easy to carry my discs, and for my caddies as well. And a few more, Tomahawk Shades and Supreme Flight, my buddy John Tompkins. I know how you like them, Terry.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Come on! Call out, shout out. You're gonna have some splaining to do later.
Oh, jeez, come on.
Yeah, so John Tompkins, Supreme Flight, they got some sweet gear, so I'm enjoying all the new stuff that he's coming out with.
Do they have any ladies wear? Anything for women?
Yes, they do now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're coming out with some women's, which is pretty cool. Which Hannah was wearing earlier, which you saw.
Okay.
And Cellucor is definitely someone that's supporting me this winter, and actually all year, I should say. All year they've been supplying me with some supplements and some good stuff to keep me going on the road and keep me active. So that's a little secret that I've had through the year. And yeah, I'm ready for another year and an off season, actual off season this winter. Last year was kind of short, a month and a half maybe. This year I get like 3 months or 4 months to heal up and then get ready for next year and start hitting it hard.
Awesome.
So real quick, healing up, how's the back? Everything, you feeling pretty good, or?
Yeah, the back is good. The ribs and the knees and
Okay.
I'll probably have to have a full assessment, and yeah, Hannah's making me go through the whole 9 yards.
I think you know someone that can do that. So
yeah.
So my last one for the night would be, I'm gonna keep it here. Last time you were on the podcast, we talked about what you wanted. It was a Star Destroyers, what you wanted your name on. Then I think pretty much the next day it happened. So I'm not saying Smashbox gave you the bump or anything, but here's your chance. Any other wishes out there in the world of disc golf that may or may not come true as early as tomorrow?
Not disc wise. Well, I mean, I'd love a sponsorship from like Nike or Adidas or Puma or something like that. So I'll just throw that out there, or Red Bull.
Okay, we'll work on it.
I don't have a sponsorship, so.
Well, there you go. Consider it done. That's what we do here at Smashbox.
Perfect.
All right, Paul, we're going to let you go. We know you're done touring. Maybe your girlfriend will give us updates later in the year, so because everyone's sick of hearing from you. Maybe we'll get updates from her as to her assessment on how you're doing in the off season, and she could give us the full scoop. But we appreciate you tuning in.
Full statistical breakdown after like once a month or once every 2 months.
His workouts, how he's doing. Yeah, we need to know.
She shook her head, yes.
All right.
But I know I said it before the interview, and I say it all the time. We love having you on the show. We love interacting with you. We love that you're so open and you work with us, and we really appreciate it. We love it all, and we think it's great. And people call us fanboys or whatever, and we admit that we are, because you're the consummate professional, and we really do appreciate your time, and we value it. So thank you very much.
Thanks, sir.
All right, guys. You guys have a great night, and we'll catch up with you sometime later when you're not, throwing discs around.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right. See ya.
Thanks, Paul.
All right, everyone. Of course, our 4-time world champ, 1-time USDGC champ, Paul McBeth. That interview presented and brought to you by our friends over at Innova Champion Discs. Innova was more than gracious and helpful in me being down at the USDGC and doing a little bit of the action and coverage beforehand. We talked about it on the last podcast briefly, that I had got the last round of the doubles, U.S. Amateur doubles. I filmed that over at Rennie Gold. That's all been recorded and uploaded, thanks to my friend Tony, who's helped out Smashbox and the Disc Golf Guy. So that is all available, front 9 and back 9, Rennie Gold, the U.S. Doubles Championships, all on YouTube. I'm also going to be putting out a video regarding their putting that we talked about, their huge putting, Monday night putting session, which was awesome in Charlotte. So all due to Innova Champion Disc. So thank you guys, and thanks for supporting Smashbox in our most recent projects. All right, we're going to move over real briefly. Johnny, you want to touch on the USDGC performance flight?
The performance flight.
And we'll be the first to admit, I did not closely follow all of the details of it. It was a very crazy and hectic week, just trying to keep track of the leader card and what was going on there, and when I was live, when I wasn't, who I was interviewing, all that stuff. But what we will do is bring up some of the performance flight information and read through that real quickly. What do you got, Johnny?
Winning the performance flight.
Wait, you're going right to it?
I'm going right to it.
Not top 4? Not top 3?
No.
All right.
The winner should be first. Let's announce the winner. He gets the grand salami.
It wasn't announced at the event, so we're doing it first.
Really?
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, wow. Well,
No.
with as late as it was, maybe they
I'm
just be
just
like,
kidding.
those perfs.
I have a great picture of him and Paul together, both holding their trophies. I'll have to get that published. It's a great picture of the two of them.
Him named Nick Hansen.
Yes.
Nick Hansen. Nick Hansen wins the performance flight of the 2015 US DGC, followed up by 2 strokes, Brock Shepard, Anthony Hoff, I'm going to mess this one up, Noah Miensma, pretty good, and Ezra Robinson and Jeffrey Spring rounding out the top 5. 5 is tied, so that's
okay. Jeffrey, big shout out, buddy.
Yep. Big shout out to Jeff, who was in the chat board for us. We saw earlier. So congratulations.
Well, he was just here for his name. Come on.
Yeah, he's
or we could talk about how
waiting and waiting. He's like, God, get this Paul guy off. I want to hear about 5th place.
Or he wants me to talk up how awesome the Green Mountain Championships was again. But I already did that, Jeff, because it was amazing.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Congratulations, Jeff.
Nice
so
job.
Yeah, that's kind of performance. And for those of you that don't know, Performance Flight is based on a handicap system. So Nick Hansen shot, we're just going to say, -5, -6. I'm sorry, -6, -2, -5, -5. And those were your rounds compared to your average.
Correct. So exactly that. You basically, depending on your player rating that you've established through the PDGA, they will give you I don't believe I can't think of the word, a projected score. Well, big word. They give you a projected score. So if you're rated X, they may say, okay, you are projected to shoot an 82 during the 4 rounds you play. And then if you go out and shoot a 78, you're -4 for that round, and so on and so forth. So it's based on basically how well you outplay your own player rating through the PDGA. So that's how that works.
And I'll say that, a lot of people think like, oh, it'd be really great to be a 930 rated player. Someone like you or me.
Not that low.
You're rolling that
Simmer
way.
down.
A rolling stone gathers no moss, buddy. No, but Nick is rated actually 971, and he was shooting well above his rating for that for this event. He was the only one to shoot under par, and he shot 5 under par for the entire performance edition on the last day. That nasty rain.
Mm-hmm.
I saw some really crazy pictures from the perf edition compared to the pro that I saw live. There were some rivers going through fairways.
Yes, hole 10 was totally underwater. There was a number of pictures of that.
Yes.
Yeah, 13. You're exactly right.
That whole ditch, the whole landing zone was nothing but a giant puddle.
Yeah,
It's, if you call it a landing zone, it's now a fjord it. So, all right. So congratulations to all the USDGC winners and runners.
all
up.
both of them.
And runners up. I was getting to it.
Okay.
I'm following it up, buddy. Give me a minute, man.
It's just funny to say all the winners.
Well,
There was 2.
there's only 2 winners.
And we're not going to get into this now. It's not quite the time, but one thing, a follow-up to our very lengthy interview with UC last week, I would say one of the bigger takeaways from that seems to be circulating again on the Facebooks and the social medias is the fact that he's not having the women's division. And I saw him kind of make an official response to that today online. Of course, we talked about it during last week's podcast, but that seems to be one of the biggest points of contention, or something that's gaining traction.
Sure.
Is the fact that the women's division is offered, and again, he's explained it in the podcast and he explained it online. But
do you think
that's something I noticed?
Do you think he'll give?
Do you think a change? I don't.
Do you think? Okay.
I don't.
I don't think he will either. But I was wondering if there would be enough pressure that maybe he would reconsider.
Yeah, I don't think that that it's going to change. That's just my guess, and
Yep.
we all know that you've been wrong before. So, I mean, I've been wrong before.
I don't think I've ever been wrong.
I don't think so.
You're right. I don't think I have either. So congratulations. Other than the USDGC, there were a bunch of B and C tiers that I'm really not going to get into. So
okay. Good job if you won them.
Yeah, if you won this weekend, there was a couple of locally, but if you won an event this weekend, congratulations to you.
And normally this is right around when Dana chimes in with some big hugs, somebody that missed a cash or gave away a lead. I'm going to give a big hug to someone who didn't win this weekend. He had some struggles health-wise, and it sounds like he's in the clear and he's doing well. But our good friend, our good smashy, Tom McManus, a ton of love and big hugs out to you, buddy. PDGA 1276. Tom McManus is, again, a little medical emergency this week. He reached out to me, and Tom Wincy, mountain man from Wisconsin, drove dozens of hours, I think, overall to see him today. And Tom's on the road to recovery. And, again, just big hug to you, buddy. We know you're usually tuned in, and you support Wisconsin Disc Golf. You supported everything that me and this crazy guy do. And we really want you to heal up and feel well, buddy. So, Tom McManus, PDGA 1276, we're thinking about you, buddy.
Tyler Durden asks, can the women play in the men's field, the Open? Yes, it is technically open, but there is going to be some sort of qualification to get in, apparently. So they would have to qualify, which probably means they would have to play in an open division prior to that to qualify. And we don't know what those qualifications are yet. UC has not put all that info out.
Yeah, so it will be interesting to see. One of the comments that I had read amongst the boards talking about the women's division, and kind of one of the thread drifts was, all right, fine, we don't need UC. We just need our own. We need our own tour. Let's get to it.
Do it.
And I thought, yeah, that's another way to look at it too. There's nothing wrong with that. And someone said, instead of us, demanding that, one of these men go out and do something else to address us, let's just do it on our own. And that's another very proactive way to go about it.
That's the best way. Be proactive. Why wait for somebody else to do to please you when you can go out and please yourself?
Yep, get it done. So definitely yeah.
So I want to give a shout out to the Gomez brothers and to the Disc Guy and All Things Disc Golf. Spin 18, Jamie Thomas, UC.
Hellfish Studios.
I was just getting to Joe Height and Hellfish Studios. A couple guys that nobody knows who helped edit. Yeah. Shout out to them. But if I rattled off their name, you wouldn't know. But they were working behind the scenes.
Brian, Corey. Yep.
Yeah, diligently
Hatchet Harry.
to get that. Hatchet Harry.
Tristan. I think I've named everybody I saw in the media trailer. So I think we're segueing into,
the USDGC media coverage.
What an amazing effort by so many people. And it was pretty cool to see.
I was thinking yesterday, the day before, how awesome it is. Now, this is a little selfish. How awesome it is for us that we've been part of the two biggest collaborations
in disc golf
history.
this year.
Not just this year, probably in history. I mean, we had the GBO where we worked with Bobby Brown and
everyone else that was there,
and everyone else that was there. The other crew that was doing live and the post round stuff and the photography, and then we also got to do USDGC with Jomez Productions and the Disc Guy and like I said, All Things Disc Golf. We love up and down. So
love you, Zach.
Yeah, we love you, Zach. So I was thinking that when I was mowing my lawn the other day, and I was like, how awesome is it that we've been a part of both of those?
Yeah, so we'd like to thank Jamie, Spin 18, Spin TV, the whole operation, obviously Innova, the mothership, and UC and Discmania and everyone else involved over there for giving us the opportunity to be there. It seemed like there was a clamoring still for a live production. Everybody loves being able to watch a shortened recorded round. Excuse me. People love that there is a wrap-up show. Things that we've talked about always doing is providing some video along with commentary, and we've never gotten to that point in terms of any of our podcasts on site. So having the Insider show, it's so amazing, and it was awesome.
There's something for everybody.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't want to watch the 4-hour round, wait for the condensed round. If you don't even want to watch the condensed round, just watch the highlights.
Yeah.
If you don't want to watch the highlights,
follow the Twitter feed.
Follow the Twitter feed.
Yeah,
exactly.
follow the live scoring. Follow the Twitter.
Follow it all the way down. There's live scoring. So I believe that there was something for everyone at this event, which I was pretty happy about.
Yeah, that is definitely cool. And I think I saw that there was one or two videos that were still either coming out or were at least in the queue.
A couple of the early rounds from second or third card or whatever it was. Other round coverage is still even being put out there for posterity. So, keep an eye out on Spin 18 or the Spin TV or
thespintv.com.
The spintv.com's YouTube page, and there'll be more.
In talking to Jonathan Gomez, he was saying he was getting primarily reaction shots on the final round, and I think that was very uncustomary for him because he's usually always filming, him and his brother always filming every shot, every throw, and getting it all. So, and I was trying to wrap my head around that, how weird that would be to be, solely focused just on reactions and not even really watching where a putt is going or watching where a throw is going. So I give him so many props and so much credit because that takes some serious discipline, because I know he's a golfer
and he wants to follow the flight.
And you want to follow the flight, and B, you want to follow the story yourself.
Correct.
And a reaction, of course, is giving you something.
And the funny thing, we've said before, 16 out of 18 holes, you're not getting a reaction out of Paul.
Yeah, true.
He's gonna throw, he's gonna watch, and you might get like an arm swing. I've noticed either a pump or maybe in disgust. I saw a couple times, like in 16, where he throws it out of bounds. But that's I can't even. Yeah, it's got to be rough. Well, congrats to him, man. Because I would have a hard time doing it.
No, so that was great to see. And again, there was just so many different entities, so many people working together and collaborating. I know there was some questions out there exactly how it happened, but just as Jamie and I and Johnny discussed a few weeks ago, we were in fact scheduled and responsible for a live coverage for Friday and Saturday. And some people are like, oh, well, why weren't you here all week, or what was the deal? the deal was
we were there all week.
Yeah, I was there.
We were just prepping and getting things ready.
Yeah.
Our one of our cameramen was double booked as an editor for Spin. He was double dipping on us, which we were fine with. So Joe Height actually, he would wake up early in the morning, go to the edit tent or the edit trailer, do a bunch of editing. We'd pull him out for the rounds. He would walk around and film, and then right afterwards go back into that trailer and continue to edit either the post round or the insider show or whatever. And just he busted.
Yeah,
he definitely busted that whole week. So
good job, Joe, and also to our buddy Gary to the O, who traveled with me out there from Milwaukee. Thank you as well, buddy. So it was a pretty crazy effort. It was awesome, and another USDGC in the books. Obviously, a pretty amazing one in the way that it all went down, and seeing Paul. I was gonna say seeing Paul finally win.
I was rooting for him. Period. I know normally like media, you're supposed to kind of be like, well, we just want a good story. We want to see like bull. I wanted to see Paul win this year. I was telling a friend of ours, I wanted to see him complete it, the whole McSlam or whatever you want to call it, because it's never been done. I wanted to be able to witness that. I want to be a small part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Next year, I don't care who wins. Like I'm sure he does. And
What
I'm sure
if
other
somebody else wins the other four and they're coming in for
then
the
I
last...
root for that person.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it doesn't.
What if it's Paul?
Then I root for him. Awesome. Like, wow, we'd be the only
But
one
he
to
just
do
did
twice.
it. He's the only one to do it twice.
You know?
But if he just did it,
I know. Yeah, I mean I'm sure there's going to be some people that let's say someone gets 4, assuming there's 5 next year, and there's going to be a bunch of people rooting against that person. Be like, I want Paul to be the only one to have ever done it. Somebody else does it. It diminishes the exclusivity. But frankly, I'm not. I don't think right now I can't say it, but it seems like other than Paul, I don't see another person being able to do that. And they can't. They physically they could, but. To beat Paul in 5 majors or 5, I just don't see it happening. Or to be able to win 5 majors without beating one of the other top players. Paul being one of them. Will, Wisaki, Uli, Sexton, who was up there up until like the second. There were so many people rooting for Sexton. Mm-hmm. Like I was watching the boards and everybody. It seemed like if they weren't rooting for Paul, they were rooting for Sexy. Mm-hmm. That's what they kept saying. Like, I want Sexy to win, and just because he has such a nice guy following.
Yeah. And I think Paul would say the same. I'm sure Paul and Nate felt the same, that if it wasn't one, they wanted it to be the other.
Correct.
Question in off the board was just asking about Barsby. It was after, I believe, the very first round. Barsby's been really challenged by his elbow. And it just, even after taking some time off, he withdrew from Worlds. He hadn't played too much golf, if I recall what he had said, since then. But he came out here to this event. He thought he was going to be all ready to go. I saw him in the inn of a factory picking out a whole bunch of goodies and doing all that stuff on Monday, getting all loaded up and ready to go for the week. And it wasn't there for him. And I don't know if I'm breaking any news here, but the tone and or a conversation from him, he was second guessing his whole career at this point. If this is a habitual or a reoccurring thing,
if it could be a reoccurring injury, I mean he's got other loves and passions in drumming and music that I'm assuming and granted it's probably a whole different. I'm sure the two relate. But they're pretty different. But if you mess up your elbow golfing, how hard is it to drum? And that's something he loves to do. Mm-hmm. So we're not breaking any news like Barsby's retiring, but he was.
I say we just start the rumor.
To start the rumor?
Yeah.
I'd rather start the rumor that he cut his hair.
Oh. Okay.
Just for the heck of
Maybe
it. I'm going to start a rumor.
He's cutting his hair, retiring, and he's already got a job as a banker.
I was going to say working in an office. So yes, I mean that's got to be tough. When injuries do start to catch up to you, and especially with the force that he throws, that the pressure and whatever he puts on that elbow can't be good for it in the long run.
And he's so effective with it, and he has a good backhand, but that's part of what makes up Barsby's all-around amazing game is the fact that he's so proficient with that forehand shot. So we'll see what happens. There's a professional percussionist out there, and it's pretty hard to drum with a bum elbow.
Yeah, so. Andrew, you wouldn't know. You probably play the triangle. That's a percussion instrument, right?
Hey, yo.
Ping! No, I'm just kidding, Andrew.
Fired. Ouch. I thought it was my job to be the jerk.
I'm
or just ask awkward questions.
Yeah, a little bit sometimes. Wow, we got a bunch of drummers in here.
Oh, simmer down out there.
Come on, people. I haven't seen you guys on tour.
Yeah.
So.
What else do we have out there? Let me check my notes.
There was no Trick Shot Tuesday.
Simon.
I looked.
Simon.
I didn't see anything.
Simon.
So
disappointed in Simon Lazat, calling you out. I did see one of the clips of the local news that had covered the USDGC. They had had some footage and coverage out there, some photos, I should say. I think they grabbed them from Chad Lefebvre. But there was a local clip, some great news. What's great about going into Rock Hill is when you go into the establishment and you mention disc golf, or people just look at you and like, oh, you're here for the tournament. Like, that's a really cool feeling. Obviously similar to what you find when you go to a city like Emporia. It's like Emporia is smaller in some way. Yeah, definitely smaller, so it's even more tightly knit, but it's pretty cool to go to a city, a college town, and people everywhere you go are asking or realizing that you're part of the big disc golf tournament that's going on. So that's always a nice thing to see. I had comments. Let's see what I had listed.
Someone wrote you a letter regarding our coverage.
Yes.
About how it went for them.
Yes. If we're talking about the same one.
We talked about it on the phone.
Okay. Yeah. A gentleman in the UK, and I didn't get a message back from him, so I won't divulge all the details. But basically, he said that he's going through some rough stuff, and he just wrote the most really just genuine, nice, heartwarming, but yet it's just a great email to me. And he stated that, long story short, he's going through some rough stuff, and he really enjoys watching Smashbox. He doesn't have access to these players, being in the UK or wherever he's located. He may never see a Paul McBeth in person, or a Will Schustrick, or a Jeremy Colling, or any of those types, and he's able to sit and watch what we're doing, and it was awesome. And I know we are here so that we can bring you guys as much disc golf as we can, and hopefully we're going to continue to get as good or better as we can with our efforts. But just to get that feedback every once in a while, we don't need the pat on the back, but to get that feedback that he was out there and he was able to watch Smashbox in the UK.
Well, it kind of said, didn't it say something along the lines of it brightened him up, it made him feel better. He'd been having a down year or so.
Yeah.
He'd had some rough times on him, so that's always nice to hear.
Yeah, it was very cool. So we wish him the best of luck with all of the struggles any of the struggles that he's having, and we're glad he can. He says he lives in the prettiest part of the UK. That's the only hint I'll give.
The one part that doesn't rain? Like, that's all I know about London and the UK. It seems to rain every day.
So thank you very much. We appreciate it. We're glad we can be doing it for you.
What else you got, Terry?
I don't have a heck of a lot more. It's the national tours have been set. For next year. The world tour schedule sounds like it's getting set. There's rumblings of some other big stuff going on that we may...
Rumble.
I'm going to leave you with that teaser, but there's some other big stuff in the works that we've been made privy to. And then right now within the PDGA scheduling in their year, the big A-tier events, people that are requesting to have an A-tier on a specific date and weekend for next year, they're already putting in those requests with the PDGA, and I believe that is those have to be due or in by the 16th or 17th. I believe it's the 16th. So once the A tiers, they take a look at geographically where you are. They look at a little bit of your history and some of the things you're going to hopefully be accomplishing with your event. They look at those. Once they get those A tiers set, that's when it's open to all the other events in the country that want to run B and C tiers.
I should either punch you or punch me. Which one?
Because
I think it's more your fault than mine. I
doubt it.
We didn't thank Schwebby.
Oh my
Jesus.
gosh, there you go.
Your
Good call.
co-host.
Yes.
Someone brought it up saying they thought Schwebby did a great job.
Ouch, yes.
Completely agree.
Yes.
Holy moly. I thanked him on social media, but
As did I.
yeah, Brian Schweberger, who walked around with you for 2 rounds, we pulled him in 2 days before and said, hey, Brian, are you interested in doing this? He had hurt his hand/wrist, couldn't play, and I think that was, probably slightly bummed him out a little bit because he's got a lot of stars under his belt. So he decided, we kind of tested him out. We had a little secret test out, and he did great.
Yes, thank you. We apologize.
And so we didn't mean to leave you out, Schwebby.
Well,
Yes.
and like I said, Gio, our other main cameraman, he was the last guy I mentioned as well, the 2 closest to us, physically closest to me.
Correct.
But yeah, Schwebby, of course, I had sent him some messages. We communicated. And Madison as well for stepping in. We know we checked in with her a few times during the rounds. Schwebby said what a lot of other people said, or at least he kind of hinted at, after we did some testing and or some talking. He's like, this throwing disc seems easier, rather than commentating. And so it was always great. It's great to have somebody else to play off of, and the insight and the knowledge and the background and the history, all of those things Schwebby has. He's known as the people's champ. Everybody loves him, and they should, because he's an amazing guy. And so, yes, thank you, Schwebby.
One of the nicest guys in disc golf.
Yes, and
Just
so
if you,
it was.
If you ever get the chance to share a drink with him, make sure to take him up on it.
Yeah, buy him
one. Yeah, make sure to buy him one.
But yeah, super great, and we really do appreciate it. Of course, he did a phenomenal job. There's him and Madison, and I would love to see one or both of them in any given opportunity.
Yeah, Madison. I mean, we had originally planned on possibly having Madison in longer, but she was kind of busy caddying for Zach.
Yes, and doing
Mr. Melton,
part of his entourage.
Yeah,
she said.
Yeah, how does that guy get an entourage?
He's Zach Melton, man.
I guess so. I mean, I know he's pretty awesome, but wow, and quite an entourage to have.
Yes, and speaking of Zachs. Do you know exactly where I'm going with this?
No, I mean, because we've talked about Zach Melton. We've talked about Zach Parcell.
Mm-hmm. There's another one. Zach Deputy. I love the look. We had received, during the broadcast, and we got to do better at this. During the broadcast, I'd called out everyone. I said, please take a photo of how you're watching, how you're consuming, how you're stepping inside the Smash Box. Take a photo of it, whether you're out on a beach or you're on a cruise, or you're watching it with your 20 buddies inside your nice warm house when it was raining on us. But take a photo, let us know how you're consuming it. And we got a message from Zach Deputy's tour bus, and I believe he said his name was CJ. I apologize, I don't think I know you, CJ. But Zach Deputy, who's a very established artist who I met a few years ago at the USDGC, and I love his music. Yep. He said
you bought an album, didn't you?
Everyone got one in the player pack that year, and then when I got the album, I went back and researched him. I'm like, hey, I really like this guy.
Yeah.
And then I since then bought more, and he sent a message. I think it's on our Facebook, but it was him. And I don't condone this, but it looked like he had his camera, his phone up. He was watching it while they were driving down the interstate. I mean, he wasn't watching. I mean, it was on. He was listening.
I had another friend of ours who's told me he did the same thing. On his way to work, he's got a dashboard thing to hold his phone. He said he put it on his phone and he drove to work.
Yeah, we don't encourage that. However, that was a pretty awesome, and it kind of took me till today to get up to speed with all of our Facebook stuff.
Yeah.
But he did put it out there saying, this is how the Zach Deputy, tour bus was consuming it. So that's pretty awesome. So glad to hear. Zach, if you're out there, you listen, you watch, let us know if there's anything we can do to, feature you or talk to you, have you on.
Well, a couple things that we need to follow.
Music?
Some things we need to follow up on.
Okay.
Last week we talked about, you showed the players pack.
Yes.
And we said that, hey, we were going to get this shirt out. Terry, take a picture of it. Blah, 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 blah. That never happened. We had bad follow-up.
Well, it didn't happen on your end. No, it didn't happen on my end. Chris Cobb was the high bidder. We'll get that up tomorrow. I just unpacked the shirt. I still have it. I believe it was a large. I just unpacked it. It's still the first run ever with World Tour shirt.
And Chris Cobb said 30. He was going to start at.
Yeah, so I will put that out there.
Get that out there. You'll have 24 hours. As soon as Terry puts it out there, hopefully soon.
Yes, tomorrow.
I'll ride him on that.
Mm-hmm.
And Yeah, and we'll get that going. So
that is available. Another follow-up on Thursday of this week, Thursday or Friday, I think Thursday, we will have our first set of Smashbox discs delivered. They will be showing up at my house.
Almost did a spit take. What?
They should be amazing and awesome. We had done our first ever Smashbox stamp with Innova. Dana obviously had done some earlier with his big hug stamp. And then these have a couple of different Smashbox logos. So very limited in terms of what's available and what's out there. I'm saying these are not like off-the-shelf discs. You couldn't go into a Dick's Sporting Goods and grab this exact same disc with even with a stock stamp. We've got some pretty cool stuff that's going to show up. So I should have those Thursday.
I'm excited.
We're going to work on putting together some packages for people that want to possibly pick up either a couple discs or a disc and a shirt. We're going to talk to Miles over at Paragon. I had a conversation with him last night, and maybe we'll get some kind of supporter package together or a couple different options. So working on that as well. Gosh, crazy. We're almost to the off season, so to speak.
I know. We're almost at a 1-year anniversary. We're almost to the off season. Good thing disc golf down south goes around year round. Over under, how many events did we film this year? 7?
I don't know. It's funny you say it. I have no idea.
I don't know either. How many live events we did?
How many live events we did? I would say 6 or 7.
6 or 7. Over under, more or less next year. If you had to take a wild guess, we have no clue. We don't know anything.
I'm gonna almost say with certainty there will be more next year.
Yeah, that's what I like to hear.
Yeah, there will more than likely be more, possibly on bigger stages. Not every event we covered was obviously sizable this year.
Very much so.
So those, maybe some of those plus more. So if you guys like that, let us know. But that's something that we're planning on. A few people have reached out to me regarding recorded coverage, and I'm going to be looking into that as well here in the off season or the slower season. There's been talks about going out to the desert out west and around Halloween time. There's been talks about some stuff on the East Coast, wherever. Reach out to me if. We can still do live if people want live.
We can always do live. So what are you gonna be for Halloween? What kind of naughty
nurse?
Maybe a naughty nurse or a naughty disc golfer.
Some have claimed. I've heard 2 different things that I think I could pull off if I actually put in a little effort.
Mark McGuire?
Bash brother? Yes. No. I would say that's not a bad one though. The 2 that I most commonly have heard that I look like. We'll say famous celebrities. I've heard I look like Larry the Cable Guy. I've heard that a number of times.
I don't see that, but okay.
I've heard
you could get away with Guy Fieri.
And Guy Fieri. Those are the 2 that...
I could see Guy Fieri. Some tips, some highlighted tips.
Yeah, I need some highlighted, spiky highlight tips. And I got to put on
sauce running down your face.
Sauce. And I think I got to wear my sunglasses backwards. And then I got to get, like a Dickie style shirt that has flames on it, and I think I could be Guy Fieri. So those are the 2 that I most commonly hear. Cool. What are you gonna be?
I don't know. We have a Halloween party we're supposed to go to, and the wife and I are like, "What are we gonna do?"
I think you should be a ghost.
Just take off my shirt.
Yes.
I think the last thing I really dressed up as was Link from The Legend of Zelda. My wife made a little. It was a big costume actually because I'm a big guy, but it's like an elf costume, and I went as Link from The Legend of Zelda. So it's been a long time. So let's get into some picks. I saw you had in your little list.
I've got a pick.
You have some pick, and I think if it's what I think it is, I'm gonna laugh at you.
That's fine. It is what you think it is, probably.
What is your pick, Terry?
You go first.
No, you go first because I didn't know if I thought mine yet.
Okay.
I want to make fun of you first.
My pick is 100% based on my recent travel with my friend Gary to the O to cover the event. He was our cameraman. And my pick is simply an app. It's a little puzzle game that's called 2048.
Welcome to last year, badass.
That proves to you that I have better things to do with my time than play little games on my phone.
Oh, it's just kind of funny that app.
But now I'm hooked on it.
That app has been out for like it was like
I didn't claim it was new. This isn't newest thing
I just think
introduced
it's funny,
in the world.
Like it was hugely popular like a year and a half ago, along with the game Threes, 1024, same concept.
Never heard of any of them.
The swiping. Threes was the first one. It was an iOS exclusive game. I play it. My boy plays it. It's a fun game that just to blow like 5 minutes. Like makes some really funny sounds. And then after that, they started kind of expanding to different ones, and it's just really funny that now you're getting that now. Like a year later, you're like, look at this great game. And I know, but with as much travel as you do, it's just funny.
I'm usually a Sudoku kind of guy. If I do anything on my phone that's not social media related, at best it's Sudoku. Set on easy so I can get through it. I do like to challenge myself. I put it on easy, but then the app I use times it, so I'm always trying to beat my quickest time. But so yeah, I don't do a lot of that kind of stuff. I don't got time for that.
I know.
So 2048, I'm totally hooked on it.
It's cool.
Unfortunately, I'll admit my highest block thus far is a 512. I can't get another one. 512, and Gary's got me so hooked, and I hate it that if you're into a game, it can be 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then it just all, of course, abruptly comes to an end when you screw up. And then it just feels so slow to start over.
Yeah.
To get back to where you were.
There is some sort of
2048
pattern, I think, that you can do, like over, left, over. Like if you repeat, that it like wins the game. Something like that.
I shouldn't Google that.
No, something like that. Threes is a little different. I should show it to you at some point. But it's the same concept, just it's done a different way, and I think it's pretty cool. So I think it might have even been a pick a long time ago, but maybe not. Anyway, threes.
Oh, threes. Yeah, Michael says I have too many Facebook. I literally have 98 Facebook messages that are unread in my...
Which is funny because the Smashbox
91,
Facebook page gets messages and notifications, and I noticed there was a bunch, and then I went and they were gone, so you must have responded to them, and we're trying to catch up on a lot of stuff from this past week. So
yeah, I got a bunch of discs sent out today. People had bought and purchased stuff from the USDGC that I had picked up, and then I got a really sweet hand-picked 300 discs from the factory. So if you're gonna see anything, I made sure to stock up. I'm a thinking man. I stocked up on every Avery Jenkins stamp destroyer that was of the highest weights at the time. Good. I think I grabbed every black champion Paul McBeth 2-time or 3-time rock that was available, which I'd wiped them out, so that was cool.
Will he get a special, not special disc, but a special stamp?
It'll just keep updating.
No. For his
USDGC.
For his Grand Slam or
that maybe by Denny's. I don't know.
Or however we're calling it, or whatever we're calling it.
The Strive for 5.
Strive for 5.
Hashtag Strive for 5. That was Paul's.
Yeah, but that's stupid.
You just called Paul stupid.
No, I called that stupid because, like, the Strive for 5, you could say is the entire year. Like, I'm striving for 5. Once you hit that 5, it's got to be called for something else. Like, you're no longer striving for 5.
Well, no, but this year
gotten it.
He was referring to it as Strive for 5,
and that's great.
Because Grand Slam, calling it a Grand Slam is stupid.
Kind of, because it involves 4.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. I don't necessarily disagree, but I don't agree. But there's nothing good in, like, the
Strive for 5s.
Yeah, but the strive is the attempt to get it. He's gotten it now. Like, oh, what'd you do? I completed the Strive for 5. Like, that makes no sense. Like, I got the Strive for 5.
Hey, you call Paul dumb all you want. I called him unlucky or lucky, and now you're calling him dumb.
I'm just saying there has to be a better...
No, I mean, that was his personal, comment.
I mean, the sweep. But I'm just curious if there would be... If there's going to be a
still
special
definitely
stamp.
A sweep. It's
like
a major sweep.
He has a special stamp for his 1051 or 1052 or whatever
1051, then 1053. Yeah. 1050, 1051, then 1053.
So I'm wondering if you'll get a special stamp for this one.
There might be one out there.
Anyway.
I'm guessing. Anyway. All right. It is 11 o'clock. Are we ready?
My pick, real quick.
Oh, yeah.
TV show on Sci-Fi called Haven. It's in its last season. It's been out for, I think this is...
Oh, let me go get into it now. You're making fun of me for picking up an app that's a year old, but you want to tell everybody about this amazing TV series
because
that's now done.
No, it's got like another 8 episodes to go, and then you can go back and watch the previous 5 seasons.
I'm just saying.
You could just burn through... That'd be like, hey, Terry... my pick is Breaking Bad. You're like, oh, it's already out. Like, why would you even say that? Like, now you can go watch it all.
Well, you just got done making fun of me for catching up with an app that's a year old.
Yeah, it was like super hot a year and a half ago.
And I never heard of it.
Yeah, all right, that's great. And Haven hasn't been. That's why it's a pick. Anyway, TV show Haven, based originally on Stephen King book that they've kind of expanded into a series. I think it's the only Stephen King property that's really translated well to TV. I know they've tried before, and usually they're pretty bad, honestly. So if you get the chance, go check out the last half of the final season of Haven. It seems like it's wrapping up pretty well. So a lot of fun. It's a kind of a science fiction / mystery / lots of other stuff. I enjoy it.
Haven.
Yep.
I don't know if it's as good as 2048, but
so
somebody had chimed in also talking about an in the bag. Paul throws destroyers,
Novas,
McPro
and
Rock
Thunderbird.
3s, some Thunderbirds, once in a blue moon a crate, and once in a while a 1 or 2 different Firebirds. Usually it's one of the dyed ones, and then his McPro AVRs. So that's Paul McBeth in the bag. It was funny. As I wrap up, it was funny how he basically said, "No, I'm not playing any." We talked to him for 2 seconds while we did a test on Skype. How much good that did us. But we talked to him for a few seconds, and he's like, "No, I'm not playing any more tournaments." That seems to be the number one recurring question that Paul continues to get. He's already shattered all season earnings.
He's got a couple P2s and PDs in his bag too.
Yeah, there you go.
So.
But he shattered all other earnings records and got the Strive for 5 and the Grand Slam +1 and the major sweep. So he's done golfing. He's got some analysis to be done on him apparently.
Yeah.
So, all right, I think we're gonna cut this for now. We'll stick around for a little while in the after show where things get really crazy. What the after show? So for us again here at Smashbox TV, for Gary to the O, Schwebby, and Madison especially, along with Joe Height, all making up our Smashbox crew, Johnny V and myself, all of the other media partners that we found over at the USDGC that were a pleasure to work with. We appreciate each and every one of you guys, the USDGC Innova Champion Dis, UC, and all those guys. Every single one out there, and the host and the event itself, the USDGC. So for all of those people, and for Johnny V and myself, it's been a pleasure being here for our post-USDGC wrap-up. We'd like to thank Paul McBeth, your one-time USDGC champion, and we're going to see you guys in the after show and beyond next time when you step inside the Smashbox.
After show.
What?
Where the talk stays on the close.
I don't know what that.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know, because we were talking about. So I mean, we've talked about this before. There was some criticism that came out when AJ Risley and I released the Vibram. One of the Vibram recorded rounds. And one of the comments that immediately came up was, we're 2 minutes in and you're talking about what pants Kale is wearing or something like that.
Whatever.
Like, that to me is news.
William Buckley says,
Uh-oh.
I'm naked.
William Buckley, stop it, please. Do not tell us how you
didn't happen.
No, do not show us how you're watching Smashbox right now.
A lot of times we like to ask, how are you watching Smashbox? Keep it to yourself, buddy.
After show, $5 for JVD's shirt. Wow, take it, Chris Cobb.
I don't know. I kind of like this shirt. I don't know if I'll give it up for $5. Bidding starts at $5.
If you got enough, you might as well.
Well, yeah, if I had enough.
Well, I'm just saying. No, I mean, if you got enough of an offer for it.
Yeah. If someone
what
offered
offer?
me
20?
25.
Where'd you get it from?
I don't know. My wife buys most of my clothes now.
That's so cute. All right. So, yeah. If you get 20, 25, start to consider it.
I would consider that. The Scott Stokely AMA is out. I didn't get a chance to take a look at it on Reddit. I don't know why that guy didn't AMA, because it seems like 3 times a week he's putting up his own video on Facebook, like, this is what I think of this, and this is what I think of that.
There's not much.
There's not much.
Anything to ask of?
No.
Is that what you're saying? There's not much left?
So, someone else asked, and then I said it'd be kind of good for after show. Do we see a lot of player movement this off season?
If you ask me from my insider knowledge, the answer is yes, but I can't tell you.
Okay.
I think we're going to see a few.
See a few?
For sure. I don't know if it's going to be a ton. I know of a couple people that are going a couple places that I cannot talk about. But I think you're going to see a little bit of shift. I think that's going to become more and more common every year now. It used to be, it like took a major ordeal to get you to swap.
Yeah, I remember
it was pretty much Anavara Discraft.
I remember when Juliana moved, it was huge. It was like the most gigantic news ever.
Mm-hmm.
And now, like this past year when Ricky moved, it was kind of like, oh, Ricky moved.
Yeah.
It just wasn't the same splash that it used to be.
Yeah, so it should be interesting. Paul McBeth is not going to MVP. I would bet any amount of money on that. So
Me too.
Paul McBeth will not be going to MVP. Some hints. Stokely is a character. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
We'll
have him on the show at some point. It's just a matter of finding a good time, and maybe sometime in the winter would be when things are slow down.
Yeah.
Just to boost our ratings.
Yeah. He's,
during sweeps.
during podcast sweeps.
That's right. GG already moved. Yep.
Yep.
Double G. He went over to Latitude. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I'm gonna try and pan up through a few things. I think
Me too.
Well, here's a good question. Do you know if Avery is getting a new disc?
No.
Or just get his disc jacked?
I think he just got his disc jacked.
I'll go with that.
Avery, and as someone said, Avery would have to win 3 more worlds to get that disc back.
To reclaim it.
That's right. I mean, I'm sure at this point it's been 5 or 6 years. 5 years, I think.
He won in 2009.
Yeah, so he's
Sudden
probably
death
had the
playoff.
disc for about 5.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
He's
probably made like $25-$30 on it.
Probably. I don't think he has much of a complaint. It stinks for him probably, but at some point you kind of have to give up the goat and be like, well, And someone asked about Avery going over to Discmania. I don't know for sure, but I would bet that I would put pretty good odds on it. I mean, he's really tight with UC. He's tight with Simon. He's toured around with them. It wouldn't surprise me to see him bounce over, but I don't have any insider knowledge.
Well, and I'll say that Discmania and Innovar are obviously so tied closely to one another that most players...
They're kissing cousins.
Yeah, exactly. Most players are able to throw both. Now, I did learn recently, or maybe that was on a podcast that we learned with Simon, that he doesn't throw any Innova discs.
Nope.
But I think Simon had a different, coming into the sport in terms of his relationship and his agreement with UC. And Discmania, so
I agree. Someone's saying here the 2 biggest names that would make the biggest splash for people moving would be McBeth and Doss, and I don't think you see either of them ever move.
Neither of them.
Doss is very happy with Discraft, and Discraft is very happy with Doss. He loves them, and they love him, and he knows, and Doss just knows. I mean, there's no reason to at this point.
And he's just loyal, and
he's just a great guy.
And that's not going to happen. I'll squash any of that possibility or rumor out there that you're not going to see Nate Doss switching sponsors anytime.
Chris Cobb says JVD switches. That is actually kind of true. I am moving over to the /R podcast from Reddit.
Ooh.
Sorry, they offered me more money.
Okay.
Which is some money.
I was going to say that can't be too difficult to beat.
They offered me a penny per show.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to jump ship. No, we're not going anywhere.
Never. Whether you like it or not.
Yeah, whether you like it or not, we'll be here every Tuesday. Did you know that once you put us in your podcast feed, you'll never get rid of us? You can never delete it.
That would be awesome if it was like some kind of glitch or bug or virus or something.
They can't delete us.
We've infested you. How many worlds will McBeth need to take Climo's signature discs? 13?
Well, no, I mean, like, what do you mean by Climo's signature discs? Like, the KC Rock is going to be the KC Rock forever, because he already has the McPro.
Yeah, you were quickly...
Yeah, I was fixed on that one.
You were slapped into place on that.
Yeah. And again, I'll stay up and down. KC is a type of plastic.
Okay.
McPro, as far as I know, is not a new blend of plastic like KC was back in the day.
It is a different blend in terms of stiffness and whatnot. So in a
Sure.
sense, it's its own. It's its own.
And back from when we were there, KC was brand new. It was like a fresh, like, oh my God, this is a new type of plastic. The case or the McPro stuff wasn't exactly sold like that. That's what confused me, so to speak. But yes, McBeth will not be taking any of the KC discs, so to speak. He's got his own line.
One of the questions out there was who was Melton sponsored by. He's definitely sponsored by Prodigy.
Correct.
He doesn't throw Climo's discs, so never. That is an interesting. I mean, we just listed everything that's in his bag, but he doesn't throw any Ken Climo related discs.
No T-Birds, no Eagles, no.
No, when he went to the Thunderbird, that would have been the closest disc to what he was throwing in any kind of a T-Bird. Mm-hmm. He doesn't throw any kind of Leopard. He doesn't throw the Wraith. So, yeah, he doesn't throw anything that you see Ken Climo throwing.
Do you see Discraft being more active, visual in the disc golf scene in the next year? They seem not to make much of an effort. I think this year you've seen them step up much bigger than they have in the past with the Memorial and the Ledgestone specifically. And I think that is a lot to do with Bob Giulio.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're going to see that progress. Bob knows it's a new time. Like, it seemed like for a lot of years, Discraft was stuck in the mid-90s, where they were not really making much of an effort to do social media. They were not making much of an effort to really get out on the disc golf scene. And suddenly, all these other companies show up. And I think that really pushed them now to say, okay, we need to reevaluate. We need to look at what we're doing. We need to get our name out there, because they have so many great pieces of plastic that people just either don't even give a second thought to or don't look at, or they're old news. So other than the buzz, people don't really or haven't really gotten too excited for a new piece of Discraft plastic in a while. But
unless you're already more of a Discraft enthusiast already.
Unless you are a Discraft enthusiast. Like, I just saw that they're going to make an announcement, or did kind of, about a new type of plastic, the FLXZ.
Mm-hmm.
And they haven't really talked too much about it, but they showed a picture of somebody more or less bending one in half, and it's a more durable plastic. That's something I would be excited about.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking forward to things that they're going to be doing in the future, and I do think they're going to be out there.
I think what happens a lot is it ultimately becomes regional, that you see more of an impact depending on what region you live in. We all know that there's certain molds and or certain name brands that are more prevalent in certain parts of the country. Mm-hmm. And I'll name one. Prodigy, for instance, isn't big in Wisconsin.
Well, you can kind of almost. It's funny. Does Prodigy have? I mean, they
don't have any pros from Wisconsin.
No. I'm going to say, like, they're out of Texas, correct? Technically.
No, Georgia.
Okay, because I was going to say, you can almost look at the map and point out hotspots.
Mm-hmm.
Cali, Legacy right now is a hotspot.
Sure.
The upper Midwest in Minnesota and Michigan specifically is Discraft.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes way back. The Southeast is Innova, because you've got Charlotte and Rock Hill right there. So you have these real big hotbeds of real localized, like, die-hard type fans. Wisconsin was... I would
primarily
say it's
Innova.
Primarily Innova, because we had Barry for so many years, and Barry was the representative, and so that kind of was pushed on us. Just like Minnesota was Discraft, because they had Timmy Gill, and Timmy pushed Discraft for a lot of those guys for many years. Michigan is clearly Discraft, because that's where they're from. So you see a lot of that, and I don't see. I mean, unless maybe. And I don't know, because I'm not from the area, from the Tennessee area where Will is.
Yeah, I think you're seeing a lot more Prodigy.
That might be a real hotbed of Prodigy right now, but I can't say for sure because I'm not there.
I believe that's exactly the case. So it becomes very regional.
Yeah, but it's very regional, and it's spreading out, and you're going to see, all sorts of crazy stuff. But yeah, I don't know.
And what I was going to also say, though, to that is, yeah, with Bob and some other considerations out there, the Ledgestone being, the largest payout, the largest tournament in PDGA history in that sense, you're seeing them getting on board with the Green Mountain Championships as another one that I happened to be at that I knew was, a huge effort to be part of. I think you're seeing, I think they're playing a little bit of catch up in some regards, and I think it's great to see. So. Looking forward to it. Somebody says that...
here's Uncle Bobby Jr. asking, is that our buddy? Is that...
Yeah. That's
okay, that's cool, Daddy. All right. I know, he's got so many monikers, I'm never sure. He says, Disc Golf has been on SportsCenter, ESPN Snapchat, and several other news channels. Did it make a difference in Disc Golf in 2015? Will it make a difference in 2016? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say that it definitely did not make a difference to anybody but us this year. I don't think we're going to see it next year. I think that you're going to see, if we notice something, it's not going to be for another couple of years. And we're going to look back and say, wow, things really started to pick up at this point. But being in the fishbowl, I think it's going to be really hard to tell. We're not going to see any true growth based on the ESPN and the major media outlets. I think it's going to be a slow burn. I think we're going to see it. I think we're in the middle of a tipping point. Last year, this year, and next year, I think are going to be very big in the grand scheme of things, with a lot of stuff that's going with the World Tour, other things going on, the NT series, Paul McBeth just dominating. We're going to see this is a turning point for disc golf, for better or worse. So
I guess the question is, and whether it was a conversation with our PDGA director in Brian Graham or our marketing director at the time in John Dusler, I think that's always been a question, in that we always talk about disc golf needs to get big. It needs to get on TV. It's on TV. The emerging TV network, they have something on TV every couple of months.
And once a month, I think.
And it's, fresh new content. And then the question is, okay, well, I didn't get a check. I didn't, I'm not seeing things blow up instantly. So to say, is it impactful? Yeah, I think it is. But to what degree and how we can measure it right now, I don't know. I mean, I think it's huge, but we're on TV. I mean, that's one example right there. We've been on ESPN. Nobody's knocking down my door. Paul just said Fortune 500 company is beating down his door. Granted, I don't think he was featured in any of those, so Paul, step up your game. But, what did it really do? I mean, it created a lot of exposure.
It created some exposure.
Is there going to be a payoff to that additional exposure?
Not this year. Not next year. It is exposing more people to it. I'm not going to say it didn't do anything, because I think it did. I just don't think we're going to see that revenue in 2016 yet. I think you're going to start to see that with a little bit more that we get come in the next 5 years or so. And I'm not going to say that the sport is going to blow up, because I have no idea. And history shows that it doesn't. Like, if you look back, we were getting a lot of courses, a lot of grassroots stuff, but every time we think, oh my God, disc golf was on ESPN, it was on Cold Pizza, this is it. We're gonna, this is when we're gonna get big. Oh, guess what? Disc golf, it was on Conan.
What? Dave Felberg?
And
2008?
And
May?
What did it
Conan?
do?
Nothing.
It didn't do anything for us.
It was cool for Conan.
It's cool for Conan,
disc golfers.
For Conan, it probably exposed a couple more people, but it didn't do what people were hoping, so to speak, like kaboom, the sport.
Yeah, exactly. It's just not going to be
part of that slow burn, and I'm hoping that we're going to see that result in 5 years. Did I answer your question, Bobby?
I don't know. Ask him if he's clothed.
No.
Okay, don't. Ronald says they need to start an NFL stadium tour like the AT&T stadium deal. Bet they would sell it, every one of them. I bet you they wouldn't, Ronald.
Well,
I like the idea. I think it's cool.
I don't think they'd sell out the stadium. I think he's saying they'd sell out the tournaments.
Okay,
like if you went to the Georgia Dome and someone was like, hey, we got a disc golf tournament in the Georgia Dome, I bet you a lot of people from the Atlanta area and Georgia would go. They're not selling out a 50 or 60,000 seat stadium.
I think it would be awesome. Don't get me wrong. I think it'd be cool. I'd find a way to participate in more than one. But I think also Dynamic Disc heavily subsidizes and or pays to help make that experience happen, which is amazing on DD's part. I think that's I think they take it on the chin a little bit so that they can offer that experience to the rest of the world. So I applaud them.
And we've said it before, and just like Seabass said it, TV is dying. It's a slow death. I mean, it looks bigger to us who are cord cutters, but the honest truth of it is, I just read something that said 1/4 of people, I'm pretty sure it's 1/4 of kids aged 21 to 28 have never had cable.
Wow, never had it.
Or never plan on getting it. But that still means 3/4 of the kids do plan on having it. It's one of those things that if you can afford it, you get it.
Sure.
You know, it's only 1/4 of the people. Now, that's probably more than it was 10 or 15 years ago. TV is dying, but it is going slowly. So, I haven't looked at Disc Golf Planet's TV survey. DiscGolfPlanet.tv survey. I haven't looked at it yet, so I know they do one every year. I got mine in my email, and I just haven't had a chance to crack it open.
I think you missed it. I think you had to submit already by now.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
well, too little, too late.
I'm not sure. Is UC's new brainchild going to push the sport into that mainstream we all want, or will it divide us? I think on some levels it will divide.
You think it's going to divide the men-women type thing? You think that's going to hurt? It's
going to hurt. I think one
internally.
thing. I think one thing that it's going to definitely be challenged by it is the fact that we're going to have that age-old sponsorship conversation. You know, if it's heavily backed by whether it's Discmania or Innova or whatever, that may be off-putting to some. It may be great for the majority, but it might be off-putting to some. I don't know. And it may drive others. Maybe a Schusterich and a Wysocki are like, heck yeah, I'm going to stick it to them. I want to go win the World Tour, you know, which is largely presented by Innova.
Yeah.
I want to go win it because I'm not with that company, and that'll be awesome for my company to win their tour.
Yeah.
That they may motivate them in that way. It's tough to see.
Here is.
But if anything's going to get into mainstream,
okay.
UC and his plans and his plan of attack and his professionalism, he's going to be right there, you know, as the guy handing disc golf off from where it is now into the mainstream. Yeah, UC could help make that handshake for sure.
Bobby says, what about the 1993 video of disc golf that's been floating around? If you listen to the commentators, they talk about how disc golf is at the cusp of being popular and breaking into the mainstream. I've said it. Terry said it. Look at, if you think of somebody in the disc golf community that should be rolling in cash and not have a worry in the world, it should be Ken Climo. Mm-hmm. It's not the case. Climo's doing fine, but if you look back, like he's the Michael Jordan of our sport, so to speak. Michael Jordan doesn't have a money issue. I'm not saying Climo does, but he could be doing a lot better if disc golf was that big. Everybody says at that age, like, wow, 93, man, it's going to blow up pretty soon. This is going to be my retirement. You know, my thought when I was in my early 20s, when I first started getting really into disc golf, like real early 20s, was this sport is probably not going to be big while I'm going to be pro. My goal is that if I could be cool, if I could make a living off this when I was a master, if this thing blew up in the next 20 years, when I'm a master and I could kind of make a living going on tour, that was 97, 98. I was thinking that. Like when I was just
working out for you?
I'm not making a living doing disc golf.
Oh.
So, and you see a lot of these pros that probably thought that. Your Barrys, look at any of the Masters field right now who are the top of their game. They probably at one point thought, someday, man, this is going to be my thing. I'm going to be able to be doing tours. It just doesn't work out. History has shown. I hope it changes. I hope your Wysocki's when they're 35 and 40 and either have a fallback, like they're in disc golf doing promotion or disc sales or course design, or it has blown up for them. Because if not, it's not a good thing. I worry about the people that don't have a fallback if this thing doesn't pan out.
Like me.
Like you. I feel sorry for you. You've got me, though.
Yeah, great. Ryan Hunt had said that 2015 was a huge year. There's no doubt about it.
No doubt about
us
it.
In live, we couldn't agree more, of course. One of the, Mark Verocchi has said that the World Tour, the Disc Golf World Tour, should not displace quality A-tiers. Mark, I know that's very near and dear to your heart and specific, referring to A-tiers that are happening in your neck of the woods when this World Tour is in the U.S. All I can say is it's impossible. It would be nearly impossible for them to go anywhere with this World Tour and not disrupt or displace an event. Your event is great. It's amazing. And there's literally dozens or hundreds of other awesome and amazing events. And some are going to get interfered with or are going to get stepped on or disregarded. Maybe that's the best word. Some are going to get disregarded, and I do or do not know if it's going to be yours is going to be one of them, but I feel bad for you, but that's what's going to happen. They're not concerned about what else is going on.
No.
And whether it's sanctioned or not will prove that. And I think that'll be a real test. That'll be a test in itself. You're putting on the Disc Golf World Tour. It's kicking off in Southern California at La Mirada with a ton of a ton of history.
Pretty short after the Memorial, huh?
It's a week or two after the Memorial, and Mark is specifically referring to one or two really solid A-tiers that take place right around that time, and this event is going to directly interfere, conflict, or displace, as he said, with them, and I think that'll be a real test. I don't know fair or not. It's going to be a real test. Are people going to be at this World Tour, or are they going to be at their tried and true events?
Here's what I think. I think people are going to go to the World Tour when it's convenient. And there's two problems I have with the World Tour.
We need a disclaimer like the boys over at Disc Golf Answer Man. These thoughts may not represent
Smashbox TV. They are only representative of the idiot behind the computer.
Your computer, not my computer.
Correct, my computer. The women thing, I think, it might not bite them, it's gonna linger.
Okay,
that's it.
Fair enough.
And I think they know that. And what was my other big one? There was a really good one too. Crap, I forgot it now. You interrupted me.
Couldn't have been that good.
No, it was. It really was.
The touring, scheduling, people playing, sanctioning or not. None of that? None of those ring a bell?
No.
Of things that you may or may not be on board with? Okay.
No, the other one was really good too. Son of a gun, Terry, just flew out of my head.
All right, well, you get back to us.
I will. Once I think of it, I'll spit it right out.
I'm going to try and read down some more questions. Met, I believe, Ronald saying he's met UC at the USDGC. He is an awesome guy. Sports coverage is one of the main drivers of subscription TV, like cable and satellite, conference networks, expanded channels from Fox. And the fact that we're a sport, may or may not be in our favor. I guess I don't know. I just don't know if we have the numbers. The number of people that are interested that want to sit down and watch disc golf. I think that's the challenge, the real challenge there. Women's USDGC in Ohio. Any thoughts on that? It says Paige debacle. I don't know what the Paige debacle was, just that she didn't play well. I don't have any thoughts on that necessarily. I don't think. Does Climo have a day job? I do not believe that Climo does at the moment.
No, he used to be a roofer.
Yeah, I know he used to do some kind of roofing and or construction of sorts. I don't know if to this day he's still doing any of that. I couldn't tell you. Smoking cigarettes is his day job, according to Jim. Is that the Hog out there? Hog, did I see you at USDGC? Did you? I don't think we. Seti is saying that he thinks he's a roofer. Either our news is obvious and really well known, or it's 20 years outdated. Or not our news, our information on Climo. We need to ask Climo. Yeah. We also need to get him on the show. We'll do that here soon.
His problem is Skype. Yeah, he's just not much of a computer guy.
He says he thinks he can handle it, though. I talked to him a few months ago, so we're way overdue on getting Climo on. A few knowledgeable people in a major disc golf manufacturer partnering with X Games. Problem is, I look at X, like you think of you. This is a whole nother can of worms. But you think of X Games, I think of I've never been to them, but I think of a relatively small and or compact space that's very spectator friendly and or camera friendly. You think of the skateboarding park, the skateboarding ramps. Of course, there's the skiing stuff, but you think of all those different things. Walking around disc golf will never be in the X Games. I'm just gonna say that out loud. Wow, I've got to catch up to whatever you're laughing at. Disc golf, I don't think will ever be in the X Games though.
I don't know why.
It's just way too slow.
I don't know why it struck me as so funny.
All right, hold on. Let me get.
It's hard for the Hog to raise funds for the USDGC trip when he has hooves instead of hands. I don't know why it struck me as so funny. Oh, God, that was really good.
All right, that's odd. Anyway.
Oh.
Okay, I'm gonna keep moving. Just like when you thought I asked you about it in 2011. I don't know what you're talking about. If I thought about X Games in 2011, I don't know if I gave the same answer, but I don't see it happening.
I think there was a conversation between him and Bobby regarding the X Games in 2011.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen. It's too slow. Ultimate, I think, has a better chance of being in the X Games.
I agree.
That's fast paced, that's running, that's catching, that's diving, that's doing all those other things. We're just too slow, like golf.
Correct.
It's cool. You can relate maybe a little better because more people have thrown a frisbee than swung a golf club, but we're too slow in terms of X Games. No, I feel like I'm way behind.
No, there hasn't been a heck of a lot.
Get a spot. All right, let's see if I can get. Wow, am I missing some stuff? Guts has more of a chance. Yeah, there's another, and even Guts.
Guts is too small.
Yeah, I mean, Guts. But I agree. I mean, I think you're going off the logic. It's a little bit more exciting. Somebody could get hurt. That kind of stuff. That's not happening in golf.
Yeah, honestly, Dan, that's not a bad idea. Partnering with the Golf Channel if someone were interested, because I'm sure they're always looking for filler. The problem is that'd be great if our seasons didn't overlap. But
Ryan, you were specifically referring to Paige and the group misplaying a hole at the U.S. Women's. I vaguely heard of some of those details. I think Hannah had talked about it, our guest. I unfortunately I see that happening. I mean, I can see that it can happen just about anywhere.
Oh yeah, my other problem with the World Tour.
Okay, hey-o.
It just hit me, and it has to do with Dan Harbeck. Kind of refresh my memory.
Thanks for being a sponsor, Dan. We appreciate your support.
Dan. The fact that the tour means nothing.
Oh.
You get to the final, and whoever wins the last event is the champion
for that year.
That's what I'm assuming.
No, that for next year. That's what
Agreed.
they said.
I hope so, because I listened to another podcast with UC on it, and it made it the way he made it sound, and it could just be interpreting is that it was going to be that way the next year too.
Oh,
but so hopefully that's just the first year. But even if it's just the first year, I think that's dumb. Why not use the 5 previous events as some sort of build-up? And I know it's maybe not fair because Paul's going to go to all the events, and so Paul's almost guaranteed to win. Paul or Simon, let's just say they're the two that hit every single event.
Okay.
There could be other ones. I know that obviously it's probably no secret. We're not privy to anything. But UC was in Emporia like a week before he was at USDGC, and we had Rusko on our show, and he couldn't talk about it. You have to assume they talked about it. That UC filled him in on some details, maybe that we don't even know yet. Maybe that involved getting players out there. Maybe that involved being part of the tour. Maybe it involved 1,000 other things. But let's just say that there's a half dozen players that can make every single stop. What are the... that's a good question. What's the over-under to you? How many players are going to be able to make every single World Tour stop, if you had to take a guess?
I don't think it'll be any more than...
6?
I was going to say 5.
Okay.
5 or 6.
So I understand that. How great is it going to be if McBeth goes to 5 of these tours, and because it's an even year, Schustrick wins the USDGC, and then he's the World Tour champion, even though he never went to another World Tour. It makes no sense to me, and I know what UC's trying to do. He's trying to make sure that like, congratulations, just because Paul went to all of them or Simon went to all of them and won, that it's not Simon's wrapped up. He wants there to be drama. But the problem is, I think you take all the drama away, it means nothing then. It feels like it means nothing. Like, congratulations, you won one event, now you're the tour champion. That's my take on it.
Okay.
Do you two play in the snow? We used to casually play, me less than Terry. I'll probably, if I'm lucky, I'll get out for 1 or 2 rounds come winter. Kind of, maybe a little bit of snow on the ground. But
if I'm around, I don't mind playing in it. I'll play in any snow. I'll play in the conditions or whatever. It's rarely that I'm around as much these days.
I don't mind the snow. I don't like the really cold weather.
Yeah.
Like if it's snowy and it happens to hit a nice warm day, I've got no problem going out for a weekend round. So
the World Tour should post schedule for 2 years of dates in advance, so other tournaments. Yeah, we say all that, but that's almost impossible, Dan.
And Dan's assuming that the World Tour, so to speak, has precedent. Like if Manitowoc in the Park, let's just pretend it becomes an NT, and Manitowoc in the Park suddenly says, in 2 years, oh, you're running an event on this weekend in Georgia. I'm making places up. Why should Manitowoc step down?
Yeah.
Like, it's just let the World Tour do its thing. Let the Tour do its thing. It'll all eventually kind of work itself out, is my thought.
Yeah. Michael Gibney asks me, do I plan to work on your game in this offseason, or are you working on Smashbox? I will absolutely not be working on my game anytime soon. I don't.
You've got a problem with 20-foot putts. I think we should work on that.
I don't. I can't say I don't care, but it's just my game is as embarrassed as I get by it now because I used to be better. I don't have time for that, and it's just not really a priority to me at all. As much as I don't even know if I say I wish it could be. It's not a priority. And then asked, yes, if we do play in this hole. Ryan had said it should never happen at any course anytime a world champion misplaying a hole. That would never happen. I don't. That's pretty bold. I appreciate your diligence. Obviously, you're very diligent. I could see that happening easily at lots of really good courses. I think of a course in Wisconsin, many courses in Wisconsin, where you walk to a short and a long tee, or you're walking up and there's a short tee slightly left and a short tee slightly right, and the one on the left you're not actually seeing, and you go straight to the shorter tee or whatever. Like, I could see that happening on a lot of good courses accidentally all day long. I'm not saying it's good they misplayed it, but unfortunately I can see an honest mistake happening as much as you could try to avoid it.
So, I mean, someone else agrees with me, and the purpose of a tour or series is to encourage people to play in more events. Yes and no. I mean, this could just be, let's not consider it a series. Let's just consider it a tour without any sort of points. I just don't like the fact that then there's a tour champion. You want to have a tour with 6 events, that's fine. Have 6 great events, which they're going to do, but why even crown a tour champion? It just doesn't. If the last event is just your championship, then they're going to be the tour champion. That makes no sense. Just have 6 fantastic events that that supposedly don't really interact with each other, or maybe you collect points or something.
What if
I don't know?
What if the 5 events get you to the 6th, or you earn your way into the 6th, but then it all washes on the 6th? Then anybody could be your tour champion.
That's great. The problem with that is that the 6th event is USDGC, which has its own qualifying thing.
Sure.
So, I mean, unless USDGC changes, say next year they get rid of the perfs, and they say, okay, we're going to have, or they limit it. Let's say they cut the perfs in half and they put more in the open. They say, all right, we're going to, they're an extra 10 spots just for World Tour points leaders, which in general is going to be dumb because those aren't going to all people already that qualified. But let's just pretend here, and you've got more spots for USDGC. Use those points to get you into USDGC, possibly. I wouldn't, or a specific event. I've got no problem with that. And I know it's the first year of the tour. These are things that'll get ironed out. I'm not concerned. These are just my thoughts for the first year.
Well, and that's why I am maybe not as worked up as some others out there. I feel like we need to see how the first year goes before I have any really passionate feedback as to it, because I think we're going to just have to wait and see what worked and what didn't, and then go from there in some of this. Tyler had said the PDGA should also schedule their events so pros don't drive 900 miles between events. Even the PGA has a West Coast and a Florida Swings Midwest. I disagree. The problem is with that logic, Tyler, is there's literally 2,500 tournaments that will be scheduled this year. Your favorite B tier or your favorite A tier can maybe only happen in May because of some park restrictions, and your second favorite A tier can only happen the first weekend in June, and it's on the other side of the country. That's the way. As long as we are playing disc golf.
Well, I think maybe he's talking about just for NTs.
Either way, as long as we're playing disc golf in public parks with thousands of people that are filling the tournaments, you cannot schedule. I mean, you can do your best to create a tour, but we have 20 people on our tour, maybe 30 people that tour, and to try and organize a 365-day calendar year around 30 people trying to run around the country to make 10 or 12 grand if they're a decent player, I don't know. And I know we've had great conversations with Eric McCabe and others, and I'm not saying we shouldn't try to make stuff that makes sense, but there are far too many things that get in the way from, making it possible.
We should at some point catch up with Bobby and see.
Nope, I'm done with that guy.
No, not now, but like in the next couple of weeks, and just see how Take Your Disc to Work week.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see if they got it, what feedback they got. I've got discs at my work in general. I've got a couple hanging up, and I've got a plastic bag with like 5 or 6 of them in one of the drawers that I lent to my boss's son, and he returned the ones he didn't want, which is funny because, of course, he returned the 2 of the 3 that I thought he really should have. He gave back to me instead. I think he took a couple of the faster drivers, but
of course,
I was smart and didn't give him too many overstable drivers. So I'd be curious to know how that went and what kind of feedback they got.
Yes, it was pretty huge. I saw a post. I don't want to say I was getting sick of them, but I saw a post a ton, and it looked like everyone was like this awesome little side story, or not side story. It was just this awesome update about the week, and it was just great seeing them constantly in my news feed throughout the entire week. So. Yeah, that alone tells me you guys succeeded over there at DD and beyond. So awesome.
Uncle Bobby says Grow Disc Golf Day was a success. Several stories of people taking baskets and discs to work. Good. That's awesome. I know, like I said, I did not take. I was really kind of absent on Facebook the past couple days, so I didn't really see a lot of stuff. Has there been any statement put out by Brian on the tour? I'm assuming he means Brian Graham, not Brian Schweberger. No, I don't believe Brian Graham has made an official statement about the tour. I don't think he has had any platform on it so far. So I'm sure they're waiting to get more information like everybody else. Because it kind of sounds like the World Tour, will collaborate with the PDGA when it suits them, and when it doesn't, they will do their not their own thing. They'll still use all this, PDGA sanctioning, or all the rules and everything, but they're not going to let the PDGA slow them down, so to speak. So,
Beats 1982 said, then ask the 30 people what they need, referring to my 30 people that are on tour. Those 30 people need to make way more money at the events they're going to.
Yeah.
Because I could round up. This is all for another day, for almost its entirely separate line of questioning and or podcast. The PDGA is a professional organization for let me see their line. Professional PDGA. The PDGA is not, sole's purpose is not to create a tour for people to live on. I'll say that. That's not the PDGA sole purpose. It is a professional organization for disc golfers, but it is not. The PDGA's in its mission statement doesn't say we're here so people can create a living by throwing our frisbees around, or by throwing frisbees around.
Maybe you know this, maybe you don't. Here's a good bit of trivia that I just found out.
That 2048 has an upgrade?
No. Who designed the star stamp for Innova?
The star stamp from Innova.
The original Starline logo artwork.
Did you have the answer?
Yeah.
Who sent this to you?
I'm not telling you. It's on Facebook.
Oh.
So don't look.
I'm going to go... for some reason, I feel like I've heard it. But only because I know other stories that I was told. I'm going to say John Ahart's brother-in-law.
UC Maresma. Did you know that I did design the original Starline logo artwork for Innova 10 years ago? I used to own an advertising agency back then. It was one of my first design jobs for Innova. It says right on his Facebook. I'm assuming the internet never lies.
What?
And UC wouldn't either.
Starline logo artwork.
That's what I said.
Okay.
Not the star stamp, not
yeah,
like the
okay,
old proto
okay,
Raven
yeah,
or whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
The Starline logo. So
Oh.
there seems to be a lot of blank spaces concerning the disc golf or the World Disc Golf Tour. Hopefully they will share info. Yeah, we're going to get more info bled out to us over the next 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, and we're not the end all be all. Clearly that's all UC. We know nothing more than really what he talked about on our lengthy podcast last week. So
yep. Any update on UC after he took the spill at USDGC? He seemed fine. He said he heard something pop in his knee. He's thinking it might have just been a tendon that maybe popped. He seemed to be all right. He had it wrapped up. Terry talked to him during the round when I believe you guys were on hole 12, and he seemed like he was fine. So
yeah,
he was
he's
a little
pretty
scared,
much.
but
Yeah, he should be pretty much fine. I had made the joke later that when I know in show business you say break a leg, UC, but we didn't mean it literally this time.
Sure.
So yeah, he's doing good. Didn't know anything about the World Tour schedule as of last Thursday, and that is Big Dog didn't know anything about it. Well, again, Mark, to follow up on that, is they made it clear that they may or may not care about PDGA sanctioning. It may happen and it may not, so they don't need to necessarily. If it's not sanctioned, they definitely don't need to worry about the World Tour.
correct.
Or know about it, I should say. It seems to be a lot. PDGA, you mail us professional while doing the work and getting
Really?
money.
Beats 1982. This is your first podcast? For some reason, I thought I've seen your name before.
Awesome.
Anyway, if so, welcome to the club.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
for stepping inside the Smashbox.
Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate all our viewers.
So just so you're aware, Beats 1982, we're currently in part of what we call our after show. For the main portion of the show, we had Paul McBeth as our primary guest. Usually each week we have our statistician, Dana Vici, join us. He talks about tournaments and updates. After that, we then usually go to a featured guest. Usually it could be more often than not, it's one of the previous weekend's big winners at any given event. And it's ranged everywhere from almost, I think we've had just about every top female player on here at one point. I think Des Redding's maybe missing out, and
Des popped in with Jay.
Des and Jay, I guess. Yeah, we're technically on as well. Yeah, so that she was on here. Have we? I feel bad if we've missed out on any of our other top. We've had Katrina was like our second guest ever. We could probably have an update with her. We've had Katrina. We've had Paige. We've had Val Jenkins. We've had Des Redding. We recently just had Hannah Leatherman. So anyway, we have all these different people on, and then we usually wrap it up with some other random things that we want to babble about, and then we officially close that show, and then now we go into the after show, and that's usually even more interactive, where we're directly reading things.
Yeah,
that
usually
you
we
guys are
take
writing
people's
to us.
questions, what they've been thinking about or what's been going on in the sport.
Having Mike Downs from the PDGA would be an awesome podcast. You're right. We should just reach out to...
I'd like to get Mike Downs. I'd love to get Brian Graham on at some point. Those are the two off the top of my head that I think would be cool.
We will have to talk about my event next year, the U.S. Women's 2016 Sabatis. Oh, Beats 1982. That's good old Monster Energy drinker. That's Dave.
Oh.
Dave, welcome, buddy. You just gave me the hint. Now I know who you are. Now I've got you. Is the World Tour eventually going to be the split of pros and AMs from the PDGA?
Not from the PDGA.
Well, not intentionally, so to speak. If I'll say this, if the World Tour expands to being big enough and can somehow support financially enough of our pro players, you may see some of them be on board with it, and it at that point may or may not be a PDGA, entity or PDGA backed or related or supported thing. I'm sure there's some concern out there, no matter who you are.
Oh, sure.
That some may say this pro tour may or may not be the start of a competitive thing against the PDGA.
Yeah. By the way, you're wrong. Beats says who he is, and I recognize the name now, but no Monster drinker. So.
Jason. Just kidding, Jason. Hey, Jason, how you doing?
How about Felberg? I don't know what that question is.
I think you bought something from me recently, Jason. I appreciate it.
We should give Schwebby Dana's job. I don't think we'll make him arm wrestle for it, but no, I don't think we want to give. That's not where Schwebby's strengths would be. Schwebby's a great story spinner. He's a great color man. He's really good with commentary. Dana, not that Dana is like specifically a stats guy, but Dana knows and travels and tours more extensively, and he sees a lot of these events and he sees a lot of these players, and he has a lot of stories, current stories, which is why we love Dana and we love having him, and he's good for the show, and someday if we're lucky we'll pay him.
How about Felberg? We've had Felberg on. In fact, I invited Felberg to be on last week. He said he was going to be there,
but then he couldn't get a ride or something.
And then he couldn't get a ride there. So, Felberg, that's on you, buddy. Go Buckeyes. No, Ryan, I'm sorry, and I don't mean to come back at you about at your U.S. women's scenario. I understand. It sounds like you're probably a very diligent TD, as I believe they were. It just there must have been some slight mishap or something that made for that to happen.
UC is differently trying to take over for sure. P.S. We can tell how short you are, Terry, standing next to everybody.
You're real funny, Dan.
Yes, very true. Terry is very short.
I'm
not very
I'm
short.
average. I'm average height.
5'8"?
Ish. 9 and a quarter.
I think. Really?
No, I'm at least 5'8".
Okay, I have no clue. Anyone less than 6 foot to me just looks short because I'm 6'6". So, but
tell me, what do you think the average height of
pretty sure 5'8".
U.S. males or
pretty sure U.S. males is 5'8".
Average height, male height.
Yeah, I think it's 5'8".
Does it matter if it's U.S. or not?
No, just average male height.
Average male height. I do not want to see.
I think it's 5'8". I think I read
here's
that
by
years
country.
ago.
Good. It'll break it out for us.
Awesome.
And if it's 5'8",
it's in meters.
Whoa. Standing, according to the map below, the tallest men on Earth on average are from the Netherlands, standing in at 6 feet. The shortest people are from Indonesia, standing at 5 feet 2. So,
all right, go to United States.
5'9" and a half.
How tall are you? 5'8".
I think I'm 5. I think I would give myself 5'9".
Okay, 5'9". So you're still an inch shorter than average, which is fine. It's
half
close
inch.
enough, half inch, whatever. No,
but I make up for it by being wider than most. So booyah. Yes, I am short though.
Yes, and you'll notice a lot of golfers are taller, wingspan, this and that. So
especially our good ones that I'm usually interviewing.
Yep. So it always makes Terry look shorter.
And sometimes
that's why Terry likes interviewing the women more, because they're right at his level.
And more often than not, it's kind of funny. Whenever I set up for an interview, everybody always has to stand on my left. There's plenty of times where standing on my left might be the best lighting, but standing on my left is slightly elevated, and it's like, great, you're exaggerating how much. Yeah. Yes, that happens all the time. But yes, I'm.
Ken Little laughs at 5'8". Well, with a name like Little, Ken, you're not a giant yourself, Ken Little.
Yes. Give shoe.
Have Terry stand up against the wall. No. How tall is McBeth? Is he taller than? He's taller than you, right?
I don't think so.
Is he 5'10"?
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
Bring on John Brooks. We've said this before. We love crazy, but one of our biggest challenges is. I think a branding issue, and I think there's too much possibility for too much confusion when you start mixing. We've had such a small, tight-knit group of people doing these things that I think if you start intermingling some of our entities and some of our assets and or talent or whatever you're called. I worry that there could be some confusion or some branding issues, honestly.
And you say
that's our biggest hang-up.
You say that the weekend after
we just were on Spin TV.
We completely produced a show on Spin TV.
Yes, exactly. But I do, and that was one of our biggest concerns in being at the USDGC, which we talked over with the guys at Spin TV, and they totally understood. But it was there was some concern of branding. And I think a lot of people understand that. Because some people asked, well, is the Spin, or is Spin now doing live, or is Smashbox doing it on, a lot of people ask that kind of stuff. So, yeah. Sorry, not sorry. I'm just talking smack. I feel like Dana's the only one of you guys I've actually played around with. Yeah, that's possible, because Dana gets to play golf still, and that's gonna be tougher as he's now has a kid.
One of the new podcasts I'm listening to, I just started listening to it last week, is the Bill Simmons podcast.
Okay.
Are you familiar with who Bill Simmons is?
Nope.
He's a sports writer. Very, very, very popular. Probably the most popular sports writer on the planet right now.
Okay.
And he was fired from ESPN for basically talking smack about the NFL and Roger Goodell. ESPN more or less let him go. That's kind of the behind-the-scenes stuff. And he's now signed with HBO, and he did his own podcast.
He can probably say and do whatever he wants.
He can now. And part of that is just ripping ESPN the first week, more or less just laying into them.
Wow, nothing like burning a bridge. I know, but...
He burned it a while ago. I mean, they burned it when they suspended him and then fired him. So it's a pretty good podcast, and he talks about recently how ESPN would not let him... First of all, he complained that when he did a podcast on ESPN, ESPN told him that they could not monetize it. They could not make money off podcasts. And so I'll say this, what is he doing the first 2 weeks? Lots of commercials. Like every half hour to 45 minutes, it's a new commercial. So he's monetizing it up the yin-yang. But he says ESPN has a direct edict that says you cannot go on another competing network or shows thing. So he couldn't, like if he went to Boston where he apparently grew up, he couldn't go on one of the local sports shows. He had to go on the ESPN affiliate only. And he said it was ESPN's way of basically putting a chokehold on local sports. So, because he was saying, he's like, I wanted to go on the Dan Patrick show. I wanted to go on this show. But he's like, ESPN wouldn't let you. They just flat out, it was against your contract and rules. So now that he's independent with HBO, he can go wherever he wants and do whatever he wants. He's developing some show or whatever. But.
So I should never show up on Disc Golf Answer Man again.
No, you should.
I mean, according to that.
According to that would be like that would be again
or final round or
and that's and that's something I don't understand. I mean we're pretty small potatoes in the grand scheme of things. Cross promoting is very important for us. We have we love pretty much everyone out there. We've had no issues with really anyone as far as media goes. So
I'm about to start some issues.
We should start up some beef. Can we start a beef with Bobby?
It makes sense to
I mean, he's out here.
Yeah, I mean, if he's tuned in.
He's the easiest one.
He's the easiest target. Do y'all think that Disc Golf World Tour will bring in big corporate sponsors, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, Pepsi?
No.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
I'll say this, not big corporate sponsors like those. I think you're going to get some mid-tier corporate sponsors, but I don't think you're going to see the big ones like your McDonald's, Coke. Not yet.
I will be surprised. Or wait.
First year, second year?
I wouldn't be surprised if they did first year.
I don't think first year.
Okay. I just said I wouldn't be surprised. I think bringing Tomas Ekstrom as a guest to hear the backstory and the future plans for Latitude, I don't disagree. I think that would be great to have Tomas. Played with him before Beaver State. Sarah Holcomb was on with us too, and Paul and that was the Sarah One Worlds. John Oliver. All right, I think UC has somebody big in Europe that is stepping up to sponsor the World Tour. He better or it will flop. He may or may not. I heard of some companies that have shown some interest, so we'll see what happens there. Maybe Smashbox could reach out to him. I don't know if you're talking about UC or Tomas, but yeah, I think that would be a great idea.
Or maybe Bill Simmons.
Whoever you were referring to, Bean. Maybe the podcast doubles matchup could be a real thing. Oh yeah, it will be.
No, Bobby, we need
just
to find,
as Coca-Cola is. It's the real thing.
That would actually be kind of a fun thing to do in like January.
Us go down there
for a weekend and crash at Bobby's place.
Yeah.
Just invite us. We just show up one weekend, not tell him. Like, hey, we're doing it.
Walk in with our cameras and microphones. Be like, it's Tuesday night. We need a place, bro.
No, I think we have the password for the the warehouse.
The distribution
We'll
center.
just sit outside.
Don't tell them you know that.
Actually, it's a new computer, so I don't know if we do.
Bobby, the more you keep practicing and the less Terry practices, the better the odds are for you.
I don't know if that's a rip on you or a rip on Bobby.
Yeah.
I'm glad I wasn't brought up.
Yeah. It should be fun whenever we do make it happen. I'm glad you guys still keep bringing up the doubles, Bobby. It was my idea right here in live chat. Yes, Disc Golf Nerd, you get all credit. Do not forget to remind us of that
He doesn't.
later. No, I know, but he honestly should, because knowing that it's out there. Play Wolf. Not sure.
No, it's got to be doubles. Wolf is more of a singles event.
Yeah.
We got to go doubles. I'd like to get us versus the Answer Man. Central Coast would be cool.
Jomez.
I'll say Gomez brothers.
Yeah, that would be pretty funny.
Yeah, we can bring in those final round guys. Bring in the disc golf show. There's a few of us out there.
Yeah, can make things happen. I'll take on. Now we can also incorporate obviously Jamie Thomas, but he's got to bring another media person. He can't bring like Simon. that wouldn't count.
Oh no, this is Simon and Avery. There are my new media guys.
Yeah, I don't think that would work. Any future live broadcast this year? Dan asks. Officially on the books as of right now, no. We have no plans. As we alluded to earlier, any event that wants us there needs to reach out and talk to us. I'm actually getting more and more booked for different things, but no, as of right now, there are no official plans for anything live to be done yet this year. Not to say it can't happen, but it would have to start with an event reaching out to us. And that will go hand in hand too with we'd go anywhere. If you're running a C tier and you can afford to have us there, we'll certainly go cover it. But
do you think we could beat UC and Jamie?
No.
I don't know how good Jamie is. Yeah, UC's really good.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say no.
But I don't know how good Jamie is. Alternate shot.
I think Jamie's decent, but that wouldn't.
It's gonna be hard enough for us to beat McCabe and Bobby.
Yeah, but I think we will.
Oh, we will.
Bring it.
Handily.
I don't think we could beat you. Terry, September in Maine, U.S. Women's. All right, Dave. No, I'm just kidding. I know it's not Dave. I would be interested to hear about it. Let's talk about it. Maine for the U.S. Women's. I was in Vermont in September last year. It was amazing. I've never been in Maine. And I believe, this may be a little known fact that I'm making up on the spot, but I believe every disc golf course in Maine is pay to play or privately owned.
Okay.
I don't know. I think it's something like that, which is awesome for you guys. Janet Jameson. Yeah, bring it, Bobby. Yeah. So
it's midnight Central Time. I think we've exhausted most of our questions this week. Once again, I want to thank everybody who.
Oh, we're closing the show. Is that what you're doing?
I think so. I'm
not done.
Okay, you can have the after show. I'll go upstairs to bed.
That would be cool to do. Should I do an after?
Yeah, you can put it on your Periscope and walk out my house.
Okay, maybe not. Yes, I was correct. All pay to play. Nice, good call.
Cool. Yeah. So this is episode 57 After Show. We want to thank everybody who tuned in, all 62 of you who are still watching. Thanks to Bobby Brown for tuning in, because we're going to beat you like a red-headed stepchild.
Which I am.
And thanks to Paul McBeth for joining us for the regular show. Thanks to everyone for asking questions. Thanks to the whole USDGC team once again. We have nothing but love for you. And yeah, I think that's it. I think we're good.
Okay.
So this is Johnny V, sitting next to Terry Miller,
the disc golf guy.
And yeah, we'll see you next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Central, like we are every single week, all winter long. Have fun. Have a good week. Get out and throw if it's warm. Good Lord. It's not going to be warm much longer. Anyway, signing out.
Later.
Bye.